The Houston Astros have come a long way since the start of the 2013 season. After suffering a lot of early heartbreak, this young team has shown the character and resilience the champions are made of. Now at the halfway point, there's plenty of work left ahead in order to forge a true winning franchise. What's in store for the Astros in the second half? We're about to start finding out.
Live from Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas, Comcast Sportsnet brings you Houston Astros baseball. Today it's the third and concluding game of this three-game weekend series between the Astros and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Good afternoon. Welcome to Sunday Baseball. Bill Brown and Alan Ashby. We have now reached the halfway point of the season. The Astros have won 30. They have lost 51. Perhaps a little bit better than some of the doomsayers predicted for them, but it's only the halfway mark, Ash.
It is that halfway point, and there are some guys that obviously have stepped up to be able to help this club be a club that does win 30 in the first half. I think you could probably list contributions from a whole lot of the people on this club, even guys that are not here right now.
We're going to choose a few and show you what they have done so far, and you see the list of four there.
Jose Altuve, all-star a year ago. Will he be this year? Yet to be determined, but .295 the batting average. And he's also been a base thief here of late. 18 stolen bases. He's been doing a great job. Look, Jason Castro, a guy that even with that .269 batting average, I think maybe should be an all-star this year. Chris Carter has probably underperformed from what a lot of people thought he might do, but he's got a chance of hitting 30-plus home runs, 80-plus RBIs, on-base percentage, not too bad for Chris, and he leads the team in runs scored. How about that? And Bud Norris has been quite good. And I would think the way he has pitched way beyond the 5 and 7 mark, that his value, and you hate to talk about values, but I think it's reality in the game. His value is probably pretty high right about now.
Now, three other guys whose value may have gone up in the minds of more than just a few, Ash.
The all Carpe Diem team, the guys who have seized the moment. Brandon Barnes, certainly on that club defensively, he has been stellar. And here in the series against the Angels, playing very well in that regard. He's also swung a big bat at times. Opposite field power seems to be something that Brandon Barnes has. Carlos Corporon has been a guy who's done a great job defensively. He can make the throws. He's done a terrific job in receiving, blocking pitches in the dirt, and a good switch hitter. Carlos Corporon does have some power. 5 dingers here in this first half in limited opportunities. And then Jose Cisnero, how about this guy? Came up from the minor leagues. Very little pop in circumstance, if at all, and yet his arm has earned him a chance to pitch late in the bullpen. That 8th inning guy, a guy that may someday wind up as a starter, who knows? But I think a very valuable guy as we look toward the future.
And there are guys, of course, as you know, at Oklahoma City knocking on the door to join this picture late in the 2013 season. For more, though, Julia's standing by on the field.
Hey guys, happy halfway point. 81 games in the book, and it snuck up on some of these players saying they can't believe they played that many already. One of those guys saying that was Matt Dominguez, who played in 77 of those 81 games. Started the year as the Astros' everyday third baseman. That makes this his first full year in the big leagues, and when asked to give himself a midterm grade, he started low, C+, but then changed it to a B, and this really has nothing to do with his defense, which has just been stellar. He did say there were some errors he'd really like to have back, but he's happy with the way he's played over there. He's feeling much better at the plate, though, coming along, showing some power. 11 homers this year and 44 RBI, leading the team. 36 of those RBI coming in May and June, and all of those 11 homers in the last 2 months. Hitting coach John Maley watched Dominguez come up with the Marlins, said he's come a really long way in this first half of the season. He's very happy with the power that he's seen and just the way he's been at the plate. Very selective with pitches, and his teammates, they're going to give him a much higher grade. They're very impressed with him. All right, coming up, Lucas Harrell on the mound for the Astros as they get started with the second half of the season. He's trying to find his winning ways again. We'll be right back.
That is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. And by your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. And let's go to Game 3 of this 3-game weekend series. It's the Astros and the Angels at Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas. It'll be the 13th meeting of the season between these two. And on the mound for Houston will be right-hander Lucas Harrell, shooting for win number 6 of the year in an up-and-down season, Ash.
It has been up and down, Bronny, and the last time out was one of the downs, that against the St. Louis Cardinals. Part of a loss for Lucas, 7 earned runs allowed over 3 1/3 innings. So kind of a rough one. Lucas has been very good, though, at times, and his numbers have reflected it. In the month of May, he got roughed up very badly. Nice defense there, by the way, by Lucas Harrell. But you can see as you look at these numbers, in May was his very rough month. 1-4, 7.53 ERA, surrounded by a pretty reasonable sandwich. In terms of the ERAs, April and June, good. Here in June, 230 the batting average against. So he's tightened that up considerably. Lucas Harrell could very much use one of those stronger days now to help the Astros pick one game in this series.
Lefty C.J. Wilson is his mound opponent coming up next. Blood with a second-half ring. More of these exciting plays. There will be some along the way. Will they start today? More in a moment. Left center field. Those who have arrived and have heard the news today might have even seen on the field receiving one of the ceremonial first pitches. Jimmy Paredes is back in an Astros uniform today, just arriving from Oklahoma City. He was to have been in the starting lineup. He's been recalled from Oklahoma City today. Justin Maxwell was having some problems. He came in as a pinch runner, and going back into first base, noticed some dizziness, and he's been placed on the 7-day disabled list with concussion-like syndromes from that spill in the outfield trying to make that play in right center a few days ago. So Paredes is back, and the Angels starting lineup begins with former Astro J.B. Shuck in left field. It's Howie Kendrick batting second today. He's at second base. The number 3 hitter is designated hitter Albert Pujols. The cleanup man is center fielder Josh Hamilton. Mark Trumbo's at first base with Alberto Callaspo at third. Brad Hoff is in right field. Hank Conger the catcher. Eric Ibar at shortstop. And it's Lucas Harrell on the mound. J.B. Shuck to lead it off. First pitch is ball 1. Mike Muchlinski is the home plate umpire. Shuck checks in at 297. He has no homers and 19 runs batted in. And the Angels are 6-1 when he's the leadoff man. He slaps it to shortstop for Elmore. Jake Elmore's throw is in time to clip him for out number 1.
On the mound for the Stros today, we've mentioned him. Lucas Harrell goes out there with a 5-8 mark, 4.84 the ERA. The opposition hitters hitting .284 against him. One key number, the 11 home runs allowed of concern. Also the walks, 45 of those in 93 innings.
He's really been battling control issues. Howie Kendrick is up next. Kendrick looks at strike one. Strike one would lead Lucas Harrell in a very good direction today. 312 with 9 homers, 38 runs batted in for Kendrick. 1 for 8 with a homer in this series. And that's chopped high to third base. Dominguez on the run, throwing across his body. Excellent throw. That is a much tougher play than what he made it look like.
Well, you get a peek at Matt Dominguez at third base. Defensively all around for the Astros. Behind the dish, it's Carlos Corporon. At first base, Brett Wallace, Jose Altuve, Jake Elmore at short, and Matt Dominguez. In the outfield, Brandon Barnes in center, J.D. Martinez will be in right, and Chris Carter is in left.
The batter is Albert Pujols, the DH today. Pujols has hit .249. He has 13 homers, 49 runs batted in, 0 for 8 in this series. That's strike one to Albert. Albert has hit 26 career home runs here at Minute Maid Park. Breaking pitch outside makes it 1-1. Mike Trout is being rested today. We understand he has a hamstring strain. None of the Astros pitchers will be complaining about the lack of a Trout in the lineup here. Bouncer up the middle, and a sharp single goes into center. Elmore was lunging for it, couldn't get there, and Pujols is on with 2 outs.
Can't say I detected any of that hamstring strain in any of the sprints by Mike Trout here in the series.
Yeah, he had opportunities to strain it, didn't he, with all the running he's done in these first 2 games. And now Josh Hamilton, he made a couple of terrific catches yesterday, and he's picked up the pace offensively after a very rough start. Numbers still not good for Hamilton. Hamilton looks at a strike, 221, 10 homers, 28 runs batted in. He's driven in 10 though in the last 15 games, and in this series he's 3 for 6 with a walk, in addition to his defensive contributions. He's hit 4 homers against Astros pitching this year. 2 have come off Lucas Harrell, who throws one inside.
He's hit .293 against the Astros, and yeah, he took a high sinker, drives it out to right center field in Anaheim, and then was right back in that same part of the ballpark right here in Houston. Josh Hamilton has been quite a factor. The most home runs he's hit against any club this year against Houston.
He looks at that close one, and it's 2 balls 1 strike to Hamilton. According to one of the stories, when Hamilton came into his locker yesterday and the reporters were waiting for him, he said he would not want to talk about his hitting. But then, of course, there were those 2 sterling plays in right field to discuss after that game, which was a 7-2 Angels win. Hamilton is a .340 career hitter against Houston. Now it's 3-1 for Harrell.
Well, those 2 defensive plays yesterday were gems, and you know, you don't generally think of Josh Hamilton as the great defensive player. Think of the offensive side from years gone by, but well, I'll tell you what, the way he played in right field yesterday, he might be a defensive gem now, maybe that late inning replacement guy.
There's a walk, and now runners at first and second for Mark Trumbo. And Lucas Harrell, who got the first 2 on just a few pitches, then allowing the home run to Pujols, now faces Trumbo with 2 men on and 2 outs.
Would you spend that Josh Hamilton money for a replacement guy defensively late in a ballgame?
Ooh, boy. How about that? Mark Trumbo with 17 homers, 50 runs batted in, has a .251 average, 3 hits in the series for Trumbo. Trumbo was coming out of an 0 for 10 skid when he came into this series. Yesterday got his first multi-hit game since June 14th. That's strike 1. Harrell throws a high percentage of fastballs, 71%. He has no career decisions against the Angels in 2 starts this year. An ERA of 1.69. With no wins, no losses. Foul back, and it's 0-2. Lucas in this ballpark this year has a 6.23 ERA with 3 wins and 6 losses. Four-game series opens tomorrow night with the Tampa Bay Rays coming in. Bo Porter's club split the 2-game series with St. Louis, now has lost the first 2 to the Angels. 12-14 for the month of June. Trumbo strikes out, and Harrell comes up with a big pitch he needs to end a scoreless first inning with 1 hit, 1 walk, and 2 men left. While those folks did a little shopping in one of the team stores here scattered throughout Minute Maid Park. Now the Astros starting lineup begins with shortstop Jake Elmore. Jose Altuve with a 9-game hitting streak bats second and plays second base. It's Chris Carter in left field, Carlos Corpora on the catcher, JD Martinez in right field, Matt Dominguez at third base. The DH is Ronnie Cedeno with Brett Wallace at first base and Brandon Barnes in center field.
On the mound for these LA Angels of Anaheim, left-hander C.J. Wilson. He's 32 years of age, 7-5 on the year, 3.88 the ERA. He's won 3 straight decisions for his Angels, beating the Mets, or rather the Yankees, excuse me, Mariners and Tigers, and allowing 5 runs in 5 innings in that last one against Detroit.
He has a good career ERA against Houston of 3.36. Jake Elmore at 211 has 1 RBI. Elmore getting the call again at shortstop. He played that position yesterday, went 0 for 4, leading off against Joe Blanton and the Angels. Wilson can get inside on a right-handed batter with that cut fastball of his. And there is strike 1. Right-handed hitters are at 255 against Wilson. Elmore, the Arizona Stater, trying to get something stirred up with Altuve on deck. Bouncer Wilson. That's 1 out for CJ.
Defensively for the Angels, C.J. Wilson will not do it all by himself. Hank Conger's behind the dish. Around the infield, Mark Trumbo, Howie Kendrick, Eric Ibar, and Alberto Callaspo. In the outfield, Josh Hamilton gets a start in center. He's flanked by Brad Hopp and J.V. Shuck.
Talked about Wilson beating that Detroit club, Ash, last time out. That's impressive with that high-powered lineup. He allowed 5 runs on 7 hits, 5 innings, so the numbers were not good, but Angels supported him. Altuve, 2 for 6 in this series, 295 for the season with 3 homers, has driven in 27. And he tried to backdoor that breaking ball and missed with ball 1.
Well, Miguel Cabrera went just 1 for 4 in that game. I would consider that a victory, though that 1 hit his 21st dinger of the year.
It's in the air to right field. Backing up on it, Hopp. Off to the warning track. Put a deep drive by Altuve for a long out, number 2. Hawk getting a chance to play in the absence of Mike Trout today as far as the starting lineup is concerned. And now Wilson is 32 years old, will face Chris Carter. Chris, with 15 homers, leads the Astros with 40 runs batted in. He's 4 behind Matt Dominguez for the club lead. He scored 38 runs. He leads the team in runs scored. And looks at the fastball for ball 1. And Chris has hit .324 against the Angels this year with 5 homers, 11 runs batted in. Looks that one over, and it's a strike. He went deep here against C.J. Wilson May 7th. A 3-run shot. And the Astros dealt Wilson a 7-6 loss in that one. Foul back. But Wilson beat Philip Humber out in Anaheim 4-1 back on the 14th of April. And then he gave up 3 runs in 7 1/3 innings here against Jordan Lyles June 2nd. So it's his 4th start against the Astros this year. He is 1-2, but with a 2.75 ERA. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Carter. Carter's hit .306 in his last 14 games with 8 doubles, 2 homers, and 7 runs batted in. A nice pace. He's really picked up the pace. He's hit the ball better to right center field lately, right field, center field. That one comes down and in, and he gets a strikeout, does Wilson, to end his scoreless first in 1-2-3 fashion. 0-0 after 1.
And click on In-Game Live to enhance your Astros experience via computer, smartphone, or tablet. Get in-depth stats and join the social buzz. In-Game Live only on CSNHouston.com. If you happen to be on Twitter today, you notice it was a buzz with Astros news. Lots of things going on, some news and notes. Brownie talked about Justin Maxwell earlier being placed on that 7-day DL. Jamie Paredes was moved up and originally was supposed to be in the lineup, but his flight made it real tough to get here. He did make it, though. He's in uniform in there. Also, Carlos Pena will miss the next 2 days. A death in the family there. He flew back to the Dominican, but he will be back soon, guys.
Thanks, Julia. So the Astros are a man short for the next 2 days for Bo Porter. Alberto Callaspo late on that pitch, and he's fallen behind 0-2 here to Harrell. 272, 4 homers, 30 runs batted in. 2 for 8 with 2 runs batted in the series for Callaspo. And the curveball dips outside for a 1-2 count. Luke is working very quickly, and that is the norm for him.
When he gets in that nice quick pace, throwing strikes, he can be just an ideal guy to play behind.
That's in the air to left center field. Moving over Carter. 1 out for Harrell.
Not to mention to broadcast for.
Oh, on getaway day. Ideal. Brad Hopp, who had big years with the Colorado Rockies,
Has had to reinvent himself a little bit, resurfacing here as the starting right fielder today with a .308 average, no homers, 2 runs batted in limited play as an Angel. He hasn't had many at bats with them. Haup just turned 34. Had Tommy John surgery and missed last year. And there's ball 1 to him. Haup has hit 124 major league homers with a .276 career average. Coming into this season, he was with the Pirates and they released him. Foul back, and it's a 1-ball-1-strike count. He was drafted in 2000 by the Rockies in the 11th round. He's from Fort Worth. Played for a state championship team at Boswell High School. Went on to LSU, where he was the MVP of the College World Series champions in 2000. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Strong-armed outfielder, and his biggest year was a 116 RBI year for the Rockies in 07. That's strike 3. Lucas Harrell's went on the mark for strikeout number 2.
Trying to work that inside edge. Catches it as the ball comes right back to the corner. Well placed. And you can see for Lucas Harrell, with 2 strikes, he really doesn't alter things much. He's a sinker ball pitcher. He stays with his strength. And therefore, you're not going to see a lot of change in terms of the changeup, slider, and curveball. He just goes with what gets him to the dance.
Something to be said for that. Hank Conger looks at ball 1. 255 for Conger, 4 homers. He's driven in 11. Harrell pounds it inside for a 1-ball-1-strike count. We talked yesterday about that play involving Conger. He was originally charged with an error on a pop-up he didn't catch Friday night. That was later taken away because it was ruled that he was distracted by somebody in the Astros dugout yelling, "I got it." And then an apology was made by Bo Porter. Conger grounds out, and it's a 1-2-3 second for Lucas Harrell. All smiles for Lucas. Scoreless game.
Back Saturday, July 20th, the Astros take on the Mariners at 6:10 p.m. with an inspirational postgame concert featuring 10th Avenue North. Your game ticket is also your ticket to the concert. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com for your tickets today.
Always a popular night here. Mariners are in town July 20th. There's a home run from earlier this year off C.J. Wilson by Carlos Corker and Nash.
That big 4-game sweep out in Anaheim, and Cork was a big part of it. Driving the ball with plenty of distance out into left center field. We had a night or two there in Anaheim where the ball seemed to carry better than it normally does.
Now as he leads off the second inning for Houston, he's at 287 with 5 homers, 11 runs batted in.
And that's strike one on the Wilson fastball. CJ has won 7 and lost 5 this season with a 3.88 ERA. The Angels have some injuries to their starting rotation right now. But they did get Jared Weaver back from the disabled list, and he won his last start impressively. That stays outside, and it's a 1-ball, 1-strike count to Carlos Corcoran. Wilson was drafted by Texas in 01 in the 5th round from Loyola Marymount. That's fouled out of play. That makes it 1-2. Last year he tied for the American League lead in starts with 34, and he went 13 and 10 with the Angels after they signed him as a free agent. He had Tommy John surgery way back in 04. He's quite a hitter in college as well as pitching. That's strike 3, and strikeout number 2 for Wilson.
Yeah, both pitchers here this afternoon spotting that inside edge well.
Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller time later in today's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Now J.D. Martinez, the batter. J.D. with 7 homers, 30 runs batted in, has a .246 batting average. He is 3 for 8 in this series. Astros have been in a downturn offensively throughout much of June. That's strike 1. Hitting the low 200s as a team. And their team batting average now for the season is .238. 1-ball, 1 strike. Wilson worked 202 innings last year. He walked 91. That was the 3rd highest walk total in the American League. That's what can get him in trouble sometimes. He's tough to hit. .249 batting average against him. 2 balls and a strike. Sometimes it'll be maybe a couple of walks and that one big hit in an inning that would torpedo him, not a succession of hits. And he falls behind now 3-1. His career, he's won 63 and lost 50 with a 3.64 ERA. That's a fine major league career. Got him a very hefty deal when he was a free agent to join the Halos. That's strike 2, and it's a full count.
Brownie, you talk about the Astros team batting average, and it's not one you want to brag about, .238, but there are some other teams really scuffling in that area. Seattle, Washington, that's a surprise. Miami and the Mets are below Houston in that regard.
You're right. Plenty of company down there. It's a big old cellar, isn't it? It's a walk to J.D. Martinez.
Plenty of room for anybody who wants to join.
Now Matt Dominguez has the runner at first. Martinez, after the first base runner, reaches off Wilson, and Dominguez with 11 homers, 44 runs batted in to lead the club, and a .234 average. We try to do something here against a pitcher who is 7 and 5 and shooting for his 5th career win against Bo Porter's club. Joe Blanton gave up 2 runs in 7 innings yesterday to win it. There's a swing and a ball down and in for strike 1.
Josh Hamilton had himself a day defensively yesterday, and one of the balls that he went up and took away from being a home run, Matt Dominguez drive opposite field, and Matt couldn't believe what he saw in the end. I have a feeling Matt thought this ball was going to get out by maybe more than the first row.
It was well hit. Double play ball here. There's the backhand flip from Ibar, and then the relay on to first by Kendrick for a 6-4-3 to end the 2nd inning. And it's 0-0 after 2.
New Mexico viewers, listen up. Comcast Sportsnet covers the entire 5-state region, and we want your story ideas. Email us your ideas at regionalroundup@comcastsportsnet.com. Guys.
Thanks, Julia. Sunday crowd staying hydrated. And inning number 3 arrives.
Boy, we needed some of that. 107 a high here yesterday.
Oh, doctor. Eric Ibar leads it off. He's leading all major league shortstops since May 19th in batting average at 308. There's strike 1 to Ibar. 285 overall for the season for Eric. He was the leadoff man yesterday. Got 2 hits and drove in 2 runs. And he also got 2 hits as the number 9 hitter Friday night. So 4 for 8 in this series. It's 1-1 to Eric Ibar. Started that double play to end the last inning. Good offensive player. He lays off, and it's 2-1. Usually hitters, when facing a guy with a good sinker like Lucas Harrell, will always talk about making the pitcher get the ball up. That's up, but it's a strike to make it 2-2.
Watched Ibar all series. He lays off the curveball below the knees really well. Just seems to keep steady hands.
Inside, and it's 3-2.
There's a case of the sinker. Maybe a bit in, maybe a bit low, but just don't see him committing. Nothing seems to move.
It's been a more difficult ride than it was last year, certainly, for Lucas Harrell throwing strikes. Slap to third. Dominguez there. And that's out number 1. But the fallback position is just throw that sinker for the middle of the plate, let it move, and let the hitter put it in play somewhere.
It's one of those pitches that when you're having an on day, it just seems like you can roll through the opposition as easy as can be. When you're struggling, it just seems like it gets hit time and time again.
J.B. Shark steps up for the second time. He grounded out. Curveball first pitch for ball 1. So the Astros will be without Carlos Pena for today and tomorrow. Away for that death in the family. 1 ball, 1 strike. From what we're hearing, that really does not qualify for the bereavement list. So they're just going a player short. 1-2. Angels will go back home to play St. Louis. That'll be the first ever trip for the Cardinals to Angel Stadium. Slap to third. Dominguez reaching to his left takes care of that ground ball out. 2 down.
You know, with those left-hand hitters at the plate and ground ball pitcher on the hill, you can draw the third baseman in. Technically, if you're talking about percentage of angles that you can cover, the further you come in, the more percentage you're covering on the field if you can react. And with that left-hand hitter, you just anticipate he's not going to smash the ball by you.
Kendrick with ball 1. Kendrick powered 9th home run of the year yesterday. He had 8 all of last year. That one's in on him, and boy, he got in on his hands, did Harrell, for that foul ball for a 1-1 count. You know, I was watching those 2 left-handed hitters. Ibar and Shuck both slapped the ball to Dominguez. A lot of times we talk about a guy with Harrell's stuff, power turbo sinkers, the players sometimes call it. Righty on righty, he'll get a lot of ground balls from right-handed hitters to Matt Dominguez, but he's done it on 2 left-handed batters in this inning.
That's where that right-handed pitcher with the sinker tries to come down and in on right-hand hitters, and third baseman will load up with plays.
Check swing call at first by Gary Cedarstrom, the crew chief.
Kind of wonder about the inside pitch, the previous pitch on Kendrick. He started his hands early yesterday. Just ducked right into one as it hit him on the top of the helmet.
Boy, he sure did. Jordan Lyles, who was beaned on that one. 3-1. Yeah, he was around to bunt and just froze, and that's not an atypical reaction at all. Fouled away. 3-2. We'll be keeping an eye on that Detroit-Tampa Bay game today after what happened last night. And let's see, they're at 1-0 Tampa Bay after 3 today. That's a shot to right center field. Barnes on the run. Barnes diving. It's by him, going to the wall. And it'll have to be picked up by J.D. Martinez. That means Kendrick can get to third base on a triple with 2 outs. His 4th 3-base hit. He has 97 hits. He's 8th in the American League. Barnes launched his body, but couldn't quite fly that far.
Great effort there by Brandon Barnes, and we've seen him make so many great plays. You get surprised when he comes up shy. And from the right-hand hitter, this ball is going to slice away from Barnes. Just makes the play all the tougher. You know, that's the perfect example. We were talking about Joe DiMaggio the other day, and the old legends about DiMaggio was he never had to dive because he always sized it up perfectly. Well, there has to be that play that you come up a little shy on. Did Joe really never dive, or is it just the memory that never fades?
Right. That's the real question. Barnes gave it all-out effort. Now it's Albert Pujols batting after the 2-out triple. He singled up the middle in the first. Strike to Albert. Despite the .252 average, he has 49 runs batted in at the halfway point. Nice stop there by Carlos Corcoran.
You know, that's part of, we were talking about Carlos Corcoran being one of the guys that have seized the day here in the first half. He's a good receiver. He gets down and blocks well. He frames pitches well, throws with a good strong arm behind the plate.
Timeout.
See a pitcher, you're given signs as a catcher, and before you get to the point where you feel like you've given the entire sign, the pitcher starts toward a stretch, and that's that moment of big confusion as a catcher.
It's 2-1 to Pujols, who consistently drives in 100 or more in a season. Last year, 30 homers, 105 runs batted in for the Angels in his first year with them. He's a 9-time All-Star. That's a great pitch down under his hands. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
You're going to pitch him this way with that sinker coming down and in. You want your third baseman and shortstop to know about it. Primarily third baseman, you need to move to your right.
And he got him outside on that pitch for a strikeout, number 3. No runs, 1 hit. Kendrick stranded at third after the triple. Brett Wallace will be coming up in the bottom of the third. No score. It's the Angels nothing, the Astros nothing after 2.5. This moment in history is brought to you by Andy Anderson, making cancer history. June 30th, 1908. Cy Young is the oldest pitcher to throw a no-hitter in Boston's 8-0 win over New York. Cy's third career no-hitter comes at the age of 41 years, 3 months. That's the man for whom that yearly award for pitching excellence is now named. But that record was later broken by Nolan Ryan. It came on May 1st, 1991. He threw his 7th no-hitter at age 44. Ronnie Cedeno comes up. He's the DH today, leading off the home 3rd inning. Calls it back for strike one. At 246, Ronnie has 1 homer, 12 runs batted in. He is 2 for 9 in his career against C.J. Wilson. The Astros stacking their lineup with all right-handed hitters except for Brett Wallace, who's on deck against Wilson. Carlos Corcoran, of course, a switch hitter. But initially they had Jimmy Paredes in the number 8 spot, and Wallace was not playing in that original lineup. Jimmy also a switch hitter. Grounder wide of 3rd, so it would have been 9 right-handed batters. And looking at the stats, left-handed hitters are hitting only .228 against Wilson, so the numbers back up this all right-handed hitter approach. We'll see how it works out, taking it off paper and into human beings playing the game.
Do you do that?
Not really. Just play the games on computers. That's about it.
That's right.
People mess things up, don't they? Struck him out. Out number 1. Strikeout number 3. They're undependable, Ash. They don't live up to those numbers.
Yeah, with those right-hand hitters, 3 strikeouts and a double play mixed in. Let's see what the left-hand hitter can do here.
Well, and of course the idea about using a left-handed hitter or 2, even though a guy is depressing left-handed hitting, is to show him a little bit different look so he doesn't get into that rocking chair of pitching every right-handed hitter the same. Brett Wallace at 125. Nonetheless, 2 for 8 in this series. He's hit in all 4 games since he came back from Oklahoma City. And he grounds one behind first base for Trumbo. That turns out to be out number 2.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. I really think a hitter can get in either a really nice groove or maybe on occasions a bad rut by looking at the same thing hitter after hitter. So I think there's some value to breaking it up, provided you have left-hand hitters that can handle the lefty.
Yeah, Brandon Barnes comes up next. Well, Wilson needed only 9 pitches in the 1st inning. So he's back on pace now after his walk followed by a double play ball to face the minimum. Barnes at 256 with 3 homers. He's driven in 17. 1 for 3 yesterday, showing bunt, and there's a strike. That brought in Callaspo at 3rd, and he'll stay even with the bag at 3rd base. But Brandon has observed that those 3rd basemen are playing him in tight. It's 1-1. So let's say you're Hank Conger here, and you've got C.J. Wilson on the mound, working to a succession of right-handed hitters. You get into a nice groove then?
Well, you hope that's the direction you're going, but you're trying to find, there's the breaking ball that finds the outside corner. If C.J. Wilson, for example, has a nice assortment that he can throw for strikes, you just keep trying to mix it, blend it, and then maybe show the hitters the opposite assortment next time around. But I think when you have a pitcher who can only throw 1 pitch for a given strike at this stage of the ball game, whatever it may be, that's when you really get locked in as a catcher. You get limited in terms of what you feel like you can call.
Well, he works both sides of the plate to right-handed hitters. He's down with that pitch, and it's 3-2 now to Barnes.
You talked, Brownie, about the 9 pitches in the 1st inning. He was trying to reel off a quick 3rd here. This is a guy that averages about 17.5 pitches per inning on the season. So he hasn't had an easy go, and that's been pretty typical of his career.
He's only thrown 31, as you see today so far. It's a shot into right field. Very good job by Brandon Barnes. Working the count full, and then a solid single the other way. First Houston hit comes from the number 9 hitting Brandon Barnes.
Brandon has become more and more this guy who shoots the ball up the middle or to right field, and that's nice. But we've also seen him take it up on the railroad tracks to right to left field. And so, you know, it leaves me rather wanting to see a little more of that very good power that he possesses.
Jake Elmore grounded out in the 1st inning, back to the pitcher. Barnes has 6 stolen bases. He's been caught 5 times. Trumbo's playing in front of him off the bag. In the dirt, ball 1. Wilson doesn't make it easy for base stealers. Last year there were 22 steals and 34 tries. He had 5 pitcher caught stealings last year. And he throws over. In that Detroit game we talked about, there was an episode last night involving Miguel Cabrera. He was batting against the former Tiger. The closer for Tampa Bay, Fernando Rodney. Rodney threw a pitch up around his head. Cabrera was shouting over to the Tampa Bay bench. Rodney was asked about it after the game, said he was just trying to pitch inside on Cabrera. But Jim Leland made a kind of an inflammatory remark after the game about something about there will be consequences or something along those lines. So there could be something coming from the Tiger pitchers today.
Well, it may have already happened. Rick Porcello on the hill for the Tigers has already hit Ben Zobrist, and both benches have been worn.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So they're at it.
It has happened. But you know that it's that time of year, right?
Yep.
July 1st tomorrow. We've seen more and more episodes like this recently too.
Temperatures rise, and sometimes the temperatures internally for the players will rise a bit.
Well, the Rays are headed this way after that game to open a 4-game set tomorrow night.
Hopefully not hot and bothered.
Yeah. Elmore takes a 4-pitch walk. So Wilson, who was just mowing down Astros hitters, now has walked 2. And he faces Altuve with 2 on and 2 outs. He's lost the strike zone on Elmore. Altuve hit a fly ball to the warning track in right field in the first inning. By the way, there's been a home run hit by Mr. Miguel Cabrera in the early going. That's his 25th of the year. It came off Jeremy Hellickson.
You're presenting that as news? That guy is absolutely amazing. But how about Chris Davis?
Yeah.
30 bombs now?
30 bombs. So he's projected to hit 58 homers and drive in 158 runs.
Yeah. I'm not going to say he can't pull that off the way he's gone in the first half.
That's strike 1 to Altuve. Porcello on the mound for Detroit, as Ash mentioned, in Tampa Bay against Hellickson. And let's see if Mr. Longoria is playing. He is not. He's having some plantar fasciitis problems. Kelly Johnson's at third base today. There's a shot backhanded, and Callaspo goes to third, gets the force out, just beating Barnes to the base for round number 3. No runs, 1 hit, 2 men left. Coming up against Lucas Harrell will be Hamilton, Trumbo, and Callaspo in the 4th. Park. Josh Hamilton's the batter. Hamilton shoots one on a line, and it's caught by Elmore. One pitch, one out for Harold in the fourth inning.
Nice reaction play by Jake Elmore, getting a chance to play some shortstop. Maybe long term, one of those guys that is being sized up as to whether he can be a utility guy, and that utility guy has to be able to play shortstop.
Mark Trumbo comes up next. He struck out with 2 men on to end the top of the first. That home run by Miguel Cabrera at the Trop came into the fish tank today. One ball, no strikes.
Fish tank, huh?
Mm-hmm. It's a tank full of rays, it says, actually.
That it is.
Fly ball deep to right field, and that will reach the seats. Opposite field home run by Trumbo. Number 18. 1-0 Angels here in the fourth. That's Trumbo's third long ball against the Astros this year, giving him 7 runs batted in against Houston. And Trumbo unloads to make it 1-0 Angels.
It's reminder time for Lucas Harold to not change a thing. Not a bad pitch, down and away, just a very strong guy driving it out the other way. Lucas has been breezing along. Just continue with what you're doing. Now that ball probably runs back and gets more of the plate than he would like early in the count. Not that unusual.
Callaspo the batter. That was ball 1. This one grounded to Altuve. 2 outs now. Callaspo 0 for 2 in this game. Harold's allowed 12 homers in 96 innings.
Tune into Fox July 16th for this year's MLB All-Star Game at Citi Field in New York. The best players from the American League take on the best of the National League to compete for home field advantage in the World Series.
Brad Hopp's the batter. Taking ball 1. He struck out looking in the second. Harold's last win came here over the White Sox June 15th. There's a shot, and Barnes is over for it, reaching down and snagging it in center field to end the top of the fourth inning with the Trumbo homer, lifting the Angels in front 1-0.
Pedro Serrano taking BP, hashtag Major League, hashtag Carter's a good sport. That is Chris Carter wearing a customized jersey that the players, his teammates, put on there for him as they think he favors the great character from the movie Major League. And, you know, he's a slugger. He's got 15 home runs this year, and also one of the league leaders in strikeouts as well. And I have a feeling that everyone watching this will start quoting Major League right now, guys.
There were some great lines in that movie. Chris Carter will come up now to lead it off in the bottom of the fourth inning.
Well, when it's all said and done, when the movie wraps up, Mr. Serrano's not a bad guy to be compared to.
How many home runs did he hit that season?
No, I think it was every time he went to the plate, wasn't it?
All right. So Chris a little behind that pace with 15 long balls. Nonetheless, leads the Astros. He struck out in the first inning. C.J. Wilson dusting off the rubber with his glove, trying to keep everything clean out there. And it's just a bit outside for ball one.
Got a boy, Uke. Oh, yeah. Now, Mr. Serrano's looking rather large right there.
Mm-hmm. 2 balls, no strikes.
Need to get Carter all pushed up into the top of that frame. And I'm bigger than you, buddy.
The guy kind of looks like Joe Carter instead of Pedro Serrano. 2 balls and a strike. He was a big slugger for many years in the majors.
Who played Pedro Serrano?
I have no idea. Off the plate, that makes it 3-1 for Chris. Chris 4 for 13 against this lefty. And he fouls it back. It's a full count now. Well, the Pittsburgh Pirates are the first team to reach 50 wins this year in the majors. They're 50-30 atop the NL Central by one in front of St. Louis. And the breaking pitch gets a strikeout. Dennis Haysbert played Pedro Serrano.
He's selling Allstate Insurance.
You're kidding. That was Dennis Haysbert?
That's what I'm being
wow.
Being told. Wow.
That is pretty surprising. So he's been on 24. He's been the president.
Yeah.
And he's been Pedro Serrano. What a resume.
And now he's selling insurance.
Well, that's a very lucrative job for him, no doubt.
Is that an upward or downward career path?
It's probably up. Carlos Corcoran puts it in the air, foul and out of play. There's strike one. Carlos struck out looking in the second inning.
I had no idea that was the same guy.
From voodoo-loving, curveball-hating major leaguer to presidential candidate, Dennis Haysbert, it says.
Once you can hit the curve, you can do anything.
Trouble with the curve? Trouble with your career, usually. Swing and a miss, 0-2.
That's good stuff.
How about Joe Vu? Can we get him in this game?
Yeah.
Players love to watch those movies. They spend so many hours in the clubhouse. Never hurts to have a little levity.
It's a 7.5, almost 8-month season for the guys.
Yeah.
Then you factor in the off-season workout programs, and guys work out together these days. And it's almost year-round anymore.
Cardinals play later this afternoon in Oakland. And then they will be taking on the Angels. 2 balls, 2 strikes now. There's the appeal to first base umpire Cederstrom. That's not going to be any day at the beach for the Anaheim Angels. They're really the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, but every now and then we deviate.
Are you sure?
I'm never sure what to call this team. All right, they're facing Lance Lynn, Shelby Miller, and Adam Wainwright when Mike Scioscia's club goes home Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in that series. That's a strikeout. That's number 5 for Wilson. So they're facing 3 guys. Well, Lynn's 110. Miller has an ERA of 2.79. Wainwright 2.22. That's the trio awaiting the Angels when they get home.
Talking about that Cardinal team that the Astros just split a 2-game series with.
That's the one. That's it.
They're a good-looking club.
They are a good-looking club. 2 games to go in St. Louis for the Houston club. J.D. Martinez worked a walk earlier. He swings over that breaking pitch. There's strike one. When Wilson throws his curveball, he throws a lot of sliders and cutters, but the curveball has been effective with a 200 batting average against that pitch. 1-1. A lot of hard stuff, though. Reds and Rangers just underway. No score in the top of the first at Arlington, Texas. Yu Darvish going for the Rangers. 2 balls and a strike. The Reds have lost Johnny Cueto again, but they're hanging in there. 11 games over 500. And the Reds are 4.5 behind Pittsburgh now. 5 in the loss column for Dusty Baker. Brewers and Pirates are in a rain delay in Pittsburgh. Gee, that's rare. Rain in Pittsburgh?
Imagine that. Those first place Pittsburgh Pirates.
People have to be getting excited around there.
I think like so many people, it's really easy to start the conversation with St. Louis Cardinals, best team in baseball. They're in second place in their division.
Yeah. Despite the second half failings of the Buccos, their fans are probably starting to think it could be different. That's a strikeout, and striking out the side for Wilson gets him to 6 Ks for the day with a 1-0 Angel lead.
Thursday, July 3rd, the Astros face off against the Tampa Bay Rays at 7:10 with patriotic post-game fireworks. Then Thursday, 4th of July, come out for a 1:10 first pitch against the Rays with a special pregame military parade. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS for your tickets.
Bring your sombrero. 1-0, the Angels lead it on a 4th inning homer by Mark Trumbo. And Conger leads it off. Goes for the first pitch. It's a foul ball to the left of Brett Wallace. That's strike one for Lucas Harrell, who's given up 3 hits in the first 4 innings. Trade talks are heating up. There are more and more rumors every day. Ricky Nolasco, has he made his last start as a member of the Marlins? That's what one article online is asking today. And how about Stanton? Do you think the Marlins would trade Giancarlo Stanton?
They don't have a huge fan base maybe to worry about, but what they do, I would think, is pretty locked in on that one big star they have. That's a complete plug pulling move if they do. As if they haven't pulled the plug.
1-2. Did you read that story about the Angels? Jerry DiPoto talking about their trade possibilities. He said, we're neither buyers nor sellers. We're the Angels.
Huh. Well, that's conclusive.
Yeah. 2-2.
Well, what do they do when they get up in the morning? Are they sure which direction they're going?
They're the Angels. But they were the 33-43 Angels until this 5-game winning streak, and that was their worst start in 20 years. They have a $105 million payroll difference compared to the Astros payroll. 14th season for Mike Scioscia. And it's been a rough first half for the Angels.
Yeah, for me, if there's a manager out there that has a chance to get it turned around, it would be Mike Scioscia. I think he's done great work through the years.
Yeah. 4th strikeout there for Lucas Harrell. They've made the playoffs 5 times in Artie Moreno's first 6 years as the owner of the team. And he's gone out and spent a lot of money on this club over the winter, getting Josh Hamilton.
Very committed to winning.
Yeah. So now we'll see how it works out. Now that after this rough start, can they get back in it? They're 9 games out. They have time, certainly. Ball 1 to Ibar.
Well, the Oakland A's pulled it off a year ago.
They sure did. 2-0. Now, what about the Astros in the second half? What are some things to watch for? Well, we were doing a little planning last night. That's something we rarely do, right?
I would say if you're including me, it's like never, but go ahead.
Well, Carl Patterson, our producer, said give us some storylines for the second half of the season. Fouled away, and it's 2-1. So let's check these out. Things to look for the Astros. Certainly defensive improvement. 65 errors, 42 unearned runs. That would be very high on the list. Players stepping up. Can any more guys claim jobs for next year? And possible trades.
Okay, well, let's address players stepping up. I'm thinking toward the minor leagues a little bit, and I don't know if we're going to get a chance to see anybody here in the next couple of months.
Right.
I think a lot of folks would love to see some of that, but don't know that that will be the case. You know, I, for one, am not somebody who believes a guy is destroyed if he comes to the major leagues too early, whatever that is, and has a struggle. I just think that it's an opportunity to play. If you don't succeed at first, a lot of guys get sent down and come back up to the big leagues. But I'm so intrigued by this Yasiel Puig story out in L.A. and the way he has impacted not only the Dodgers as a team, but their fan base and the way they've come alive and been re-energized. I don't know that there are other Yasiel Puigs around, but George Springer has done a whale of a job whenever presented an opportunity to step above the cream that he's been swimming in. And some other guys, Jonathan Singleton as well. Mike Foltynewicz, boy, I got a chance to see some of the video on this guy. His fastball is big time legit.
It really is. The shot on the ground, good play by Wallace to his left. 2 outs. So maybe Wallace is one of those guys who steps up here in the second half.
Well, and actually that was the direction I was going to go. Brent Wallace has a left-handed bat that I think is much better than we have seen to this point. If it's not, I think that's a determination that has to be made here pretty soon. But I hope we get a chance to see him quite a bit, and I hope he succeeds, because I think that bat could be very valuable toward the future. Obviously, Singleton would factor in with him and how they might work that out. Some of the machinations of the future. Brandon Barnes, if his bat can come further alive here in the second half, the way he plays defense, he's an intriguing piece.
0-2 to Schacht, who's grounded out twice.
Can Chris Carter make more consistent contact? Can he hit the ball to right field like we saw over about a 4 or 5 day span up in Chicago and with the Brewers here before heading off on the road? If he does, he's got a chance to be very good, very impactful. There are guys who have driven in runs and hit home runs over the years that didn't hit for high averages that were big parts of successes of teams.
Reaching swing, and he tapped it foul. Schacht staying alive at 0-2.
I think Jason Castro continues to grow. I've loved what I've seen from him this first half. But I think numbers-wise, he's been below what I've actually seen on the field. I really like his hitting approach.
Yeah. Strikeout looking. That's number 5 for Lucas Harrell. He has a 1-2-3 fifth inning. 1-0 Angels. Houston Astros baseball on Comcast Sportsnet is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Now's your chance to go big at Jack in the Box. Try Jack's Big Stack Burger. 2 jumbo beef patties stacked with onion rings, cheese, and pickles. 1-0 Angels on a 4th inning homer by Mark Trumbo off Lucas Harrell. C.J. Wilson has shut out the Astros through 4, striking out 6, walking 2. Got a double play ball in the 2nd. He's given up only 1 hit, a Brandon Barnes 2-out single in the 3rd. Now Matt Dominguez bats. He bounced into that double play. It looked pretty good, but it goes as ball 1 to Mike Muchlinski.
It's that heater right at the bottom of the knees. Is it a strike? Is it a ball? Does any part of the ball touch the bottom of the knees? And I think it gets undercalled.
1-1 the count.
You know, you were talking about the aspects for the Astros to get better here in the second half. That defensive side, where do they get better and how do they do it on that defensive side? That
is really an interesting question. You know, when you look at Matt Dominguez, who's been so smooth, he has 9 errors. Jose Altuve has been pretty steady. He has 7 errors. All the shortstops combined have 21 errors. And this is not telling the full defensive story. This is raw numbers, and they need to be interpreted. But still, it's a very high team number of 65 errors.
Worst in baseball right now. Yeah, I imagine shortstop is the position you point to first.
At strike 3, that's 7 strikeouts for Wilson.
Wilson is presently mowing.
He's into a nice rhythm, isn't he? Got out of sync a little bit, but right back on track now. He struck out 4 in a row now. Cedeno's the batter. Cedeno struck out in the 3rd. Of course, Marwin Gonzalez and Ronnie Cedeno were sharing the shortstop position. Marwin's playing second base now at AAA Oklahoma City, while Jonathan Villar is the everyday shortstop. And Villar, evidently, according to what we keep reading and hearing, is not yet ready for Major League promotion. Still has some things he needs to work on and improve. And yet, he has a lot of talent. 1-1. So the question becomes, if this problem at shortstop continues, will he get a promotion earlier than the Astros are projecting right now? 2-1. And then there's the other issue of the AAA Oklahoma City Red Hawks are headed for the playoffs as of right now. And usually organizations want to keep players in position on those playoff teams and let it play out until their season's over. And hopefully win some championships in the minor leagues before pillaging those teams and calling up somebody in a season with 30 wins and 51 losses right now. The compelling reason would be if you were to get VR here before September 1. Now you can measure him better in August against Major League competition. September can be a very difficult time to make conclusions about players.
Well, your point's a good one. And I do wonder how important the minor league championships may be. As we talk about, are you willing to part with some of the guys and bring them to the major leagues and see what they can do here, let them grow at the highest level, or is it about winning minor league championships? The fact of the matter is, I have no idea. But a lot of intrigue sets up, I think, here for the second half.
Cole Porter has said this is Jake Elmore's opportunity to get some playing time at shortstop and prove what he can do. Not every day, but he'll play quite a bit probably. There's a ball hit in the air to center field. Hamilton coming in. Number 2.
Well, I'll say this for Jake Elmore, and he has shown a lot of very good things, and I'll say it in just a moment. After I say this, MLB.TV celebrates 11 years with new low yearly prices. Watch every out-of-market game live on over 350 supported mobile and connected devices in HD quality with MLB.TV Premium. Visit MLB.TV. Baseball everywhere. I just had that on my mind. Had to get it off my mind before talking about, what were we talking about? Jake Elmore.
Yeah.
Yeah. he's if he seizes carpe diem, seizes this opportunity, and shows that he can play shortstop and swing the bat the way we saw when he was with the club back a month ago or so, whenever that was, and the way he has swung it at AAA, I mean, he could find a chance to become a surprise shortstop.
He has an opportunity. 1-1. Phil Boudreau just checked, and the Astros outfielders last year made fewer errors than they have made so far this year. That's surprising. Astros outfielders in 2012 made 15 errors. This year they made 16 in the first half. So there's room to tighten up that defensive work. Certainly a lot of room to get better there. Slicing fly ball near the left field line. Shuck coming over into the corner, and he gets there for the catch to make it a 1-2-3 fifth inning. That's 7 straight retired by Wilson, who's leading it 1-0 after 5.
Top of the 6th, it's 1-0 Angels. The Astros wrap up their series against the Angels tomorrow with a 1:10 first pitch. Then Evan Longoria and the Tampa Bay Rays come to town for a 4-game series July 1st through the 4th of July. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit Astros.com to get your tickets now, guys.
Thanks, Julia. We move to inning number 6. 1-0 lead with the run being provided. One out in the 4th by Mark Trumbo with a home run to right field. Howie Kendrick had triple in the 3rd inning. He's 1 for 2. And he looks at strike 1. It's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Kendrick had a good eye on that. Some hitters would have tried to swing at that pitch. He would have played into the pitcher's hand had he done that. Good sinking action down and in. He fouls it back, and it's a 1-ball, 2-strike count. But it's really to a pitcher like Lucas Harrell's advantage in a major way to get to this type of count. He can let that sinker work for him. And the hitter doesn't have that luxury of taking a marginal pitch. 2-2.
Yeah, it's hard to look into the future with the Astros and know exactly which guys presently on the club will be there, say, in 2 or 3 years from now. Is Lucas Harrell one of those guys? How about Bud Norris? I think it's easy to say about Jordan Lyles. He'll be one of those guys. But about some of the pitchers coming up on the minor league side of things right now? Are they likely to become a part of a rotation that could make a huge jump forward? And probably talk about, there's a couple of very special arms there, no doubt.
There's a shot at decks him, and he can't find it, and he's down, and Harrell now getting up on that line drive by Kendrick off his leg, it appeared. He says he's fine. Kendrick reaching with a leadoff single.
Wow. I can limp with no problem at all. That was a vicious line shot, and it looked like he said it hit him in the shin. Oh.
Yeah, it did. Oh, boy.
Man.
Just knocked his leg out from underneath him.
You know, he may think he's fine right now and may be able to get through this ball game, but that's going to hurt. Oh. You know, we've seen shots like this break guys' legs in years gone by. So if he's definitely okay, as he says he is very fortunate.
Wow. That does not count as a visit from the manager. Home plate umpire Mike Mchlinski signaling that just an injury visit. But this is some true grit here. After taking a shot off the left shin, he's back at work and facing Albert Pujols now with a runner at first.
Well, I guess if you had any doubt as to whether Lucas Harrell was a tough guy, whatever, that would go a long way to answering some of that.
Bet it would. Pujols is 1 for 2. That's a strike. You could see the force of that line drive hit by Kendrick. It just really knocked the leg out from underneath Harrell.
Hoping that Lucas was actually attempting to get that leg out of the way on his own.
That was a vicious shot. Looked like he had all of his weight planted on it, didn't it?
Well, if he did, he is extremely fortunate if he doesn't have a break there.
Yeah, that's true. It's one of the players more susceptible to injury when he does have the weight on that leg. And looked like it caught him right on the shin bone. And there's not a whole lot of fat in that area of the body. 1 and 2.
Just consider this. Oh my.
Boy.
Yeah.
Well, he had landed, and it looked like he was about shifting his weight at that time had he been able to plant the right foot. So maybe it wasn't as bad as it might have been had it hit him a fraction of a second sooner. There's so little reaction time there. Pujols puts it in the air. And now Barnes comes in and left center field getting underneath it. That's 1 out. But imagine being in a 1-0 game, taking a shot like that off the shin. Now you've got to face Pujols, Hamilton, and Trumbo.
Lucas maybe gets away with one right here on Albert Pujols, but not with that one. Howie Kendrick just takes him right off his feet. And again, to be knocked down is one thing, but he could have been knocked out maybe for the remainder of the year.
Now here goes the runner, and the throw from Corcoran gets there early and out. What a throw from Carlos Corcoran to gun down Kendrick. From 2 to 6 with Elmore making the tag.
Well, we talked about Carlos Corcoran being on that Seize the Day team before our broadcast today, before first pitch. Well, he does a heck of a job clearing the feet out on a tough pitch that would have been kind of down and away. However, he moves into a position where he catches it on the backhand side. Lucas Harrell is aware of what a great throw that was, and I think we all should be. That was terrific.
Really was an outstanding job taking a low pitch, getting it on to second base quickly. His pop time was probably really quick that time, Ash.
I think for a catcher, 1.9 is generally in that good range. If you're better than that, you're really good. Not much you can do beyond about 1.8 realistically. And I don't know where this fits. Not an ideal pitch to throw on, but an ideal throw that comes out of that right arm of Carlos Corcoran.
Hamilton puts it in the air to left field, and Carter going over for a look. It's a foul ball. That was a good look at how well Corcoran did with his footwork, having to stay low and catch that pitch, but all at the same time getting his feet ready.
Yep.
He was moving and he had his body in position.
All of that true and excellent work. It's so good. Let's just keep looking. Those feet clear out before he ever makes the catch, and that's the key on making a quick release. And because he had the balance perfectly set up, he's able to make the perfect throw. Good work. Well, Jason Castro has been, for me, an all-star type receiver this year.
It's 3-2 now.
Maybe as nice a combination of catchers as you'll find around baseball right now.
Carlos getting his 4th runner caught stealing in 15 tries. It's in the dirt for ball 4. Hamilton takes a 2-out walk. Second walk for Harold.
Josh Hamilton looks like he's actually becoming a tougher out for the moment. Laying off the pitches well out of the strike zone. In a lot of what we've seen earlier this year, he just up there, the bat's moving all the time and swinging at bad pitches. Becoming a tougher out.
He has looked that way in this series. And he had improvement coming into this series. Now Trumbo, who homered to right field in the 4th after striking out in the 1st. Hamilton has struck out 81 times in 81 games.
On the flip side, though, Albert Pujols is popping up pitches that in the past, in the height of his glory, he was just destroying time after time.
True. If they get those two guys clicking together, they could put together quite a run in the second half, given the proper pitching. No balls, 2 strikes. The fact that Hamilton has walked twice today is kind of a red flag. He had only 21 walks for the season coming into this game. If you start showing that kind of restraint you talked about, that could lead to big improvement. A strikeout there on Trumbo is number 6 for Harrell. It's no runs ahead and a man left. He took a shot to the leg. It's 1-0 Angels.
Welcome back to Astros Baseball. Bottom of the 6th, it's 1-0 Angels, and we want to remind you to tune in to Chevy Hometown Kids every Saturday morning at 9:30 on CSN. Chevy Hometown Kids, where it's not about the score, but the experience. I don't know if you can hear the kids behind me, guys. They're excited.
We can hear them.
We can see them, too.
They're out in full force. We go to the last of the 6th inning and wondering about Lucas Harrell's physical condition after taking that line drive off his leg hit by Howie Kendrick.
Well, if you want to assimilate what Harrell went through while you're at home, plant your foot on the ground firmly, get your finest, cleanest ball peen hammer, and give yourself a shot to the shin. And you'll have a pretty good idea what that felt like.
Ouch. Brandon Barnes singled in the 3rd inning. Strike 1 to Barnes. Ball peen hammer.
You get the idea?
Ugh.
Then go out and play a round of golf.
Without a cart. While carrying your bag.
There you go.
And somebody else's. 1 ball, 1 strike to Brandon Barnes. in the dirt, and it's 2-1. Wilson is set down 7 straight in this 1-0 game. There is nobody warming up in the Astros bullpen, so Lucas Harrell must be reassuring in his comments to the Astros training staff.
Speaking of carrying golf bags, an LPGA player one of the last couple of days fired her caddy.
Diving Ibar, unable to prevent this single. Barnes takes the turn, and he leads off the 6th inning. The second leadoff man in the number 9 spot gets on.
And Barnes has absolutely no interest in the caddy getting fired.
No. What was the reason?
Well, it was mid-round. I didn't even get to see what led to it, but apparently the gal said, I'm done with you after 9 holes. Take a hike, and got somebody else in there. I thought that was rather intriguing.
It was.
The guy had just taken the ball peen hammer test, too.
Barnes is 2 for 2 in this game, and he has both of the Astros hits. Now Jake Elmore will try to follow up with something here. He has grounded back to the pitcher and walked. Third baseman Callaspo in tight for Elmore. He can play some small ball. Well, in a game like this, it wouldn't be wise to dismiss the possibility of a bunt.
Well, you got your 1-0 game, and Jake Elmore, an unproven bat to this point, a guy that you might be looking at also to see what can he do with the small ball game. Angels obviously view this as a possible bunt scenario. Third baseman Callaspo drawn well in on the third base side.
This is Brandon Barnes' first multi-hit game since June 17th here against the White Sox, when he had 3 hits.
Yeah, that bat's been quiet.
Runner going, swing and a miss. The throw bounces, and it's not caught by Howie Kendrick. Stolen base by Barnes. Number 7 of the year.
Conger certainly had a chance to get him, but that bounce throw cost him in the end and saves Brandon Barnes. Not the greatest jump. I have a feeling what we looked at as opposed to the bunt scenario was the hit and run.
That's the way it appeared, yep. Strike 1 as Elmore swung at it. 7 steals for Barnes. The Astros have 12 steals in 16 tries against the Angels this year. And now they get a man in scoring position for the second time today. A bunt. Wilson. High throw, safe at first. First and third, nobody out. Wilson took a glance over at third, but Callaspo had come in. And then by the time he threw the first on Elmore, it was high, and Elmore was able to reach. A sacrifice and an error on Wilson, his second.
Isn't it something a pitcher, and by the way, nice job by Elmore on a pitch up out of the strike zone. A pitcher can spot fastballs at the knees on the corners all day long, and then he gets a play like this and just cannot throw a strike.
That is something.
Then you really have to credit Elmore coming up with a good bunt on a tough pitch.
And now it's ruled a hit. A bunt single for Elmore. The ball was bobbled a little bit, as you might have been able to see on that replay by Wilson. So he has a bunt single, and it's first and third. Astros playing some small ball, a stolen base, a bunt hit. Mike Butcher at the mound, and Jose Altuve is the batter. And a 1-0 lead. Altuve is 0 for 2. The Astros are trying to scratch it out here. And they have been kept down in this series to just 4 runs on 11 hits in the first 2 games by the Angels pitching staff. Jerome Wilson started Friday night. Will Blanton yesterday. Now looking for something of a breakout inning here against Wilson. CJ in 5 innings plus, allowing 3 hits, walking 2, fanning 7. He had retired 7 in a row when Barnes came up to open this half inning. Altuve has fly deep to right, and he's bounced into a force play. There's Carter on deck. And then strike 1 for Wilson.
Altuve taking a good look down at Dave Tremblay with the signs, but with nobody out. There's no reason to think that this would be one of those safety squeeze scenarios.
It has been a good play for the Astros this season. A little risky with nobody out.
When you got it, Jose Altuve at the plate, hitting .294. He's trying to get back and assault that 300 mark again.
Yeah, the common thinking would be in a situation like this with a hitter like Altuve, let him swing the bat. And if he gets a hit, now we could really have a big inning on our hands instead of playing for 1 run. Altuve's hitting .254 with runners in scoring position coming into this game. Grounds a foul. It's no balls, 2 strikes. Wilson with his stuff can get ground ball out. Angels have a 4.29 stat ERA. That is 11th in the American League. Shot, it's caught and thrown to first. He throws it away. Callaspo does. Barnes will score, and into second base goes Elmore. Well, Callaspo reaching out, caught the high liner by Altuve for out number 1, but then in trying to get a double play on Elmore, he threw it away at first. And that's going to be Callaspo's 9th error.
Huge break for the Astros on a line drive that, without alert base running, could easily have resulted in a double play. At third base, nice reaction, freezing with the feet and then moving back. Same thing at first base. Not a wise throw, especially from poor foot positioning here by Callaspo.
That's true. He really didn't have a shot at an out there and threw it away. For his 9th error, the game is tied 1-1, and Elmore's in scoring position for Carter. Pickoff at second. The Angels now have made 59 errors.
They're kind of honing in on the Astros mark in that regard.
Carter has struck out twice. That gives Chris 111 strikeouts for the year. He looks at strike 1.
How big a factor is the overlooked defense for teams that do well versus those that do poorly? If you go to the bottom of the American League, the teams sitting at the bottom are the White Sox, Angels, and Astros. And the Angels certainly among the most disappointing teams this year.
They've been known for good defensive play and outstanding base running, and they haven't done either this year.
Yeah, that fundamental side of the game, Mike Scioscia clubs have been known for it, and Mike probably just trying to figure out what on earth has gone on much of the time this year.
Their owner, Artie Moreno, 4 years ago was called baseball's best boss by Forbes magazine. Bouncer back to Wilson. First to get Carter. 2 outs.
Kevin Eschenfelder brings the heat. Special guests and in-depth analysis on Sports Talk Live every night at 5 p.m. only on Comcast Sportsnet.
Two outs, and now it's Carlos Corberán, who has struck out both times. Mike Scioscia has a $5 million a year deal through 2018. But Artie Moreno said in an article several days ago in USA Today, Mike has earned an opportunity to get this thing straightened out. I'm not going to judge Mike on the first 2-3 months of the season. I think he's a great manager. Foul for strike 1 on Carlos Corberán.
Any manager counts on his players to ultimately get the job done. The Angels are not a young team that should have to come out every day at 1 o'clock and work on PFP, the pitcher's fielding practice, and fundamentals around the infield. But sometimes you have a club that just doesn't get it done.
In tight for a ball. It's 1-1 to Carlos. The Red Sox lead the Blue Jays 4-3. They're in the top of the 7th at Fenway Park in Boston. Jose Reyes hit number 2 for the Blue Jays.
He's back.
He could make a world of difference in that team too. Although the shortstop Kawasaki, who was playing in his absence now, has been demoted to AAA, and apparently he was really one of the fan favorites there in Toronto.
He was a teammate favorite as well. Skipper John Gibbons held a special meeting. They didn't just send Kawasaki to the minor leagues while everybody was at home and then come to the ballpark and find out their teammate had been sent out. They held a meeting and let everybody know exactly what was going on right in front of the whole team, so the guys could kind of give them some love and let them know how they felt as teammates. I thought that was very special.
Interesting. Haven't heard of that before. Mark Burley started for Toronto today against Ryan Dempster for Boston. They're both out of the game. Well, Dempster is. Burley's still in there. Swing by Corcoran and a miss. Conger with a throw to first base completes the strikeout and the 2-3 play, and the Astros come up with a run on a couple of hits and an error. 1-1.
Hosting clients or bringing out your church or youth sports team, Astros Baseball can create an experience your group is sure to remember. Call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit Astros.com to enjoy special pricing and great benefits by reserving your group or suite today. Lucas Harrell back on the mound after taking that comebacker to the leg, and I watched him in the dugout here, and he paced back and forth a lot. He actually had his leg wrapped by Nate Lucero, the trainer there, just to keep it from swelling and trying to keep it warm, because you know it's not going to feel good once it gets cold, guys.
No. He goes out for the 7th inning, and it's 1-1. It's remarkable that he's still pitching after the shot he took. There is strike one. Callaspo is 0 for 2. Moves outside, and it's a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Got a reminder, you have until midnight to vote for Carlos Correa for the All-Star Futures game. Punched in the air, and there's Elmore over. 1 out. You can vote at MLB.com/futures finalists for Carlos Correa. Good numbers for Lucas Harrell. 6 1/3, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. George Springer and Delino DeShields have already been selected to take part in that game. Jose Cisneros warming up. It's a foul ball by Brad Hopp. He's 0 for 2. 4 hits for the Angels, 3 for the Astros, 1 error for the Angels. And Cisneros gets ready. 95 pitches for Harrell. We thought they'd be putting a lot of ice on his leg and getting him out of this game with that shot that he took. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's a lot of adrenaline going that would mask the pain in a situation like that, but at some point that's going to wear off.
Yeah, and I would think by this point that would be well worn off. Lucas has shown that he wants to compete. That goes a long way. I think managers will remember that. Where did that ball have some huge late movement?
Upstairs for a ball on Hop. It's 2-2.
But we, and not trying to overstate things at all, we realistically could have watched the last pitch thrown by Lucas Harrell this year at that line drive broken something in that leg.
Yeah. Fouled away. The attendance today is a very good 22,361 for a nice sizzling Sunday afternoon. It's a little bit cooler today, all right?
I hope so.
But how could it not be cooler than yesterday?
107. Some areas. Check with your local forecaster.
Cole Porter, Doug Brocail. Doug's glancing out at the bullpen where Cisneros is warming up. 99 right now. We're in a cool spell, Ash.
Love when it just cools off like that.
Hopp strikes out. That's number 7. Carlos Correa, where does he stand at Single-A Quad Cities? Well, 64 games. He's hitting .324. He's driven in 47 runs after going 3 for 4 last night, hitting a homer, driving in 2. One of 5 players eligible for the fan vote through midnight tonight in the All-Star Features game.
I can't believe that Carlos Correa is a guy that needs to be voted upon. You know, for me, he's a guy that should have, along with George Springer, been right on that team.
That's right.
And then others you want to name, maybe apply the voting, but not for Carlos Correa, not for me.
Conger with a sharp grounder past a diving Altuve is on with a 2-out single. Hit number 5 for the Halos. They've been spaced in 5 different innings.
So I guess my comment would be get Correa on that team, vote for him, and then see what the youngster does as he competes against some of the best.
Do you think the reason that he hasn't been named already is that he's at Single-A?
I can only guess, but Delino DeShields Jr., where's he playing? Single-A?
That's a good point.
And he hasn't had nearly the season.
No.
I'm really surprised between those 2 players.
Ibar took strike 1. Line shot into right center field. Conger heads for third base. Barnes throws it into Altuve, and it's first and third, 2 outs on the hit by Ibar. He's had a big series this weekend.
Sometimes that third out can be such a challenge.
106 pitches now for Harrell. Looking around, and Shuck is 0 for 3. So did they send the catcher out to stall?
Yeah, that's what I wonder. If as a pitcher you see that catcher come out like that, or an infielder, I would just tell him, get out of here. I'm not interested in talking right now, and I'm not interested in buying time for the bullpen to get further ready.
Yeah, the way Lucas was looking around and he glanced out of the bullpen, and looked like he just was only concerned about the move to the bullpen here, not about pitching to Shuck.
But actually a good sign when Doug Brocail comes out, because now, assuming Brocail doesn't take Harrell out of the game, Lucas has a reprieve. He gets to face at least one more hitter.
Lucas Harrell on the mound, the 7th inning. including a couple of 2-out singles here by Conger and Ibar. The Angels and the Astros playing at Minute Maid Park. Game 3 of the series, finding the Angels winning the first 2. Bill Brown, Alan Ashby, Julia Morales here with you, with one more series to go on this 9-game homestand. 4 with Tampa Bay starting tomorrow night. And now it's J.B. Shuck batting. Shuck is 0 for 3. In this 1-1 game, the Angels have 6 hits to the Astros 3. And it's ball 1. Nice Sunday crowd, hoping Harrell can turn out the lights here on the Angels in the 7th inning, with Martinez, Dominguez, and Cedeno due to bat in the bottom half. He falls behind, and it's 2-0 with Kendrick on deck. The Rays are leading the Tigers. It's 3-1 in St. Petersburg. They're in the top of the 8th inning. Miguel Cabrera hit his 25th home run earlier. Runner starts and stops. That's a strike, and it's 2-1. Corbin coming out of the chute. The Nationals are ripping the Mets 11-0, Ash, in the 8th.
When Cabrera hits a home run, is that a signal for Chris Davis to hit 2?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race, isn't it? Davis in a much more hitter-friendly ballpark than Cabrera. Slapped on the ground. Elmore to his left, tossing to Altuve for the force play at second on Ibar. No runs, 2 hits. Fine job by Lucas Harrell to keep this game tied at 1. In the middle of the 7th inning, we'll keep it right here for the singing of God Bless America.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the Houston Astros would like to extend our thanks, our gratitude to all the service members who have served or are still serving our great country. We ask that you please rise now as we welcome back Savannah Berry as she leads us with the singing of God Bless America.
God bless America. Land that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my
stretch. It's the Angels 1, the Astros 1. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning right after reminding you that the Astros welcome the Tampa Bay Rays to town for a 4-game series. It starts tomorrow night. Astros pregame live kicks things off at 6:30 p.m. only on Comcast Sportsnet.
And now let's take a look at tomorrow's pitching matchup, brought to you by Chevron. Care for your car. It'll be Matt Moore, stylish youngster for these Tampa Bay Rays. 10-3 on his great start for the year. 3.95 the ERA, and the opponent's hitting just 228. Dallas Keuchel, left-hander for the Astros, 4-4, 434 the earning, 289 the opponent's batting average against. Dallas Keuchel will try to be the guy that gets things started on the right foot in a 4-game set against Tampa Bay.
J.D. Martinez leads it off in a 1-1 game in the home 7th. He's 0 for 1 with a walk. C.J. Wilson is at 85 pitches. Number 86 is ball 1. Lucas Harrell's thrown 110 to this point. Ground ball wide of third base makes it a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Good ball game here on a Sunday. Angels going for a sweep of this 3-game series. The Astros trying to get a win to make it a 2-3 record on this homestand with 4 to go with the Rays. Always interesting team managed by always interesting Joe Madden. So as Ash mentioned, Keuchel and Moore tomorrow night. Bedard and Price go Tuesday night. Top to third base, that goes foul. Price will be coming off the 15-day disabled list. He's made a couple of minor league rehab starts to get ready. Then Wednesday night it's Bud Norris and Roberto Hernandez. Thursday afternoon Jordan Lyles, and to be announced. Michael Kahn is warming up in the Angels bullpen.
If David Price is healthy and on his game, you'll be watching one of the game's finest. There's Matt Moore, and it's come on the scene and being touted by many as being one of the excellent young pitchers to come on the scene.
He was going like a house of fire out of the gate. I think he was 8-0.
Yep.
But lately the bases on balls have caught up with him.
Some people talked about Matt Moore being the Cy Young Award winner last year. He wasn't quite that far advanced, but he was a good pitcher.
Tampa Bay currently 3 games above 500. Bouncing up there, it's ball 2. Tampa Bay is in 4th place, but within 6 games of Boston.
Tampa Bay's Rays are not the same club without Evan Longoria, and we don't know at this point if he'll be able to play in that series. The plantar fasciitis going on, but he's a big difference maker.
Kelly Johnson has been playing third base for Longoria the last couple of games. That's a strikeout, and it's number 9 for Wilson.
Well, the slider down and in has been a big strikeout pitch. Right-hand hitters just don't seem to have an answer for that pitch.
Wilson in a 1-1 game now faces Matt Dominguez, who was bounced into a double play and struck out looking. Ball 1. Matt Adams scratched from the lineup today for St. Louis with food poisoning after hitting 2 home runs against Oakland yesterday. Both these pitchers have set a quick pace in this one. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's amazing what a couple of starters going after their games, honing their crafts well and getting some solid defense can do in terms of the pace of a game.
Toronto's batting in the 8th, trailing Boston 4-3 at Fenway. Lucas Harrell there on the rail. Bouncer slowly hit the shortstop. High bar with the throw, 2 down. And now it's going to be Ronnie Cedeno. Cedeno struck out and he flied to center. Nationals 13, Mets nothing at New York at the top of the 9th inning. Jason Worth hit his 8th. Adam LaRoche his 12th. Kurt Suzuki is 3rd. Ian Desmond his 15th for the Nationals. Jeff Mathis hit a walk-off grand slam in the 9th for the Marlins, beating the Padres. Big win for the Marlins. They strike one to Cedeno.
I don't know what Jeff Mathis is hitting with that grand slam, but he was having a hard time finding any kind of a hit.
He was hitting 115 going into that at bat. Not a whole lot, Ash.
Yeah, he has had his struggles. Very good defensive catcher. Reminds me a bit of Steve Yeager back in the days when the Dodgers were such arch enemies of the Astros. Yeager, great defensive catcher, had his struggles with the stick.
He sure did. Upstairs, 1-2. Tigers are batting in the top of the 8th, trailing the Rays 3-1 at St. Petersburg. Diamondbacks are trailing the Braves 6-2. They're in the bottom of the 7th in Atlanta. McCann, Ugla, and Freeman have all gone deep for the Braves, who just retired Chipper Jones' number a few days ago. It's 2-2.
Talking about that Larry Jones kid?
The Larry Jones guy. Did you get a chance to see that little clip of his speech to the crowd when they retired his uniform?
I did see some of that.
Pretty good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. What a great player.
Yeah, he admitted that when he started playing in Atlanta at Fulton County Stadium, he saw those retired uniform numbers up on the stadium and thought, boy, I would like to be there one day.
Yeah, I think that's a rare personality. I don't even know about guys that come on the scene that are really talented if they have the forethought to look at that and think, you know, maybe someday I could be there. Seems a bit of a stretch when you step in and you start looking at the famous and talented guys that you're playing against suddenly.
Yeah, you're right. Cedeno went for it, or did he? No, he checked his swing, and the Astros get a call that takes Cedeno to 3-2 in the count.
It's about as far as I would allow a bat to go and not call it.
He's flirting with it.
Yep.
So how do you get to retired uniform number status? Boy, it happens over a long period of time, and to be able to foretell that or even hope for that is beyond what most players would reach for, but it worked out for Chipper Jones.
I wonder what those two guys thought, Bagwell and Biggio.
Yeah. Well, Cedeno's worked a walk now with 2 outs. That's the 3rd for C.J. Wilson. And it brings up Wallace. Bagwell and Biggio side by side there.
Good friends forever. I wonder when they hit upon the scene, did they have any of those sorts of notions that you attribute to Chipper Jones?
Exactly. Wallace is 0 for 2. He's grounded to first and fly to left. Great numbers for Wilson, including the 9 strikeouts. Little lob toss over to first, stepping back off the rubber, Wilson. Barnes is on deck. 6 hits for the Angels, 3 for Houston. The Angels have committed the only error in this game. And that led to an unearned run. In the dirt, Conger springs out from behind the plate on ball 1. Daniel unable to advance. Seem to be gaining some momentum. They are 5-0 on this road trip. They have not gone undefeated on a road trip of at least 6 games since September of 2002, when they won the World Series that year. Throw goes over to first. They have played well over 500 baseball since May 18th, going 23-16. Right now they're 5 games under. They've outscored their opponents by 4, and that would indicate they should be maybe a game above 500. But they're 12-17 in 1-run games. Foul back. The Bill James Pythagorean theorem of baseball would tell the numbers crunchers that with 380 runs scored and their opponents scoring 376, they should be 1 over 500, Ash.
So do you lay that on the manager?
No.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think there's a tendency when I see teams that score more runs than they've given up and they have a losing record to think, well, gee, what has the manager done wrong here? But I think it comes down a lot of times not only to those one-run games, but the games that go the other way. The laughers, if you win or lose some games, the laughers by big margins, you can skew those numbers in the end pretty well.
Exactly. Mike Scioscia cannot go into the batter's box with Josh Hamilton.
Not unless he activates himself on a given day. And I don't think he's done that this year, has he?
He has not. There are only so many things a manager can do. Oh, he could put on plays, you know, a lot of hit and run plays.
Yeah.
Also a lot of pitch outs.
You mean that stuff you talk about in the spring, how you're going to be a lot more aggressive this year and we're going to run and take the extra base. All those things that first week of the season comes along and you get thrown out 5 times and you decide, well, maybe this club is not built for that.
Yeah. Balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah. We all have dreams in the spring. Then you deal with reality and you try to figure out how your own club can make it work. This is a guy that, if he can reach what you perceive as full potential with the bat, could be a dream creator. Tough assignment against the lefty today.
Yeah, he has mastered AAA.
Yep. Yeah, and he's not one of those guys that just kind of gives you reasonable numbers. He gives you very good numbers at AAA.
Last year he hit 16 homers at Oklahoma City, drove in 57 runs and 310 at bats with a 300 batting average, had an OPS of almost 900 there. And he hit well again this year, so he really went there because he was not having success in the major leagues. He needed to regroup. He went in and made some changes for the Red Hawks with his hands a little higher and the distribution of his weight a little more even than he had before. Now it's just time to find what works for him at the major league level this time around. He fouls it.
Yeah, just to make contact on that kind of a pitch from a left-hander can be quite an achievement, maybe a victory at times for left-hand hitters. You wonder, is Brett Wallace capable of becoming one of those difference-making left-hand hitters? Time will tell. That run he had at the start of the year that felt like 100 at bats was about as rough as they come.
It was really, really difficult. He takes it at strike 3, and that's strikeout number 10. And it's no runs, no hits, and a man left. Moving to the 8th inning, it's tied at 1. It's a 1-1 game. We're getting set for the 8th inning. Astros Trivia is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. Nolan Ryan has a record 7 career no-hitters. He had a different catcher for each one. Name 3 of the 7.
That's your question.
There's the guy who caught the no-hitter with the Astros, named Alan Ashby. We got one.
That was the record breaker, by the way. Number 5.
That was number 5. That was that John Russell in Texas?
I believe that is John. He had 2 different catchers in Texas.
Jose Cisnero is in the game for the Astros. 8th inning underway. He throws ball 1 to Howie Kendrick. Kendrick is 2 for 3. Nice day for Lucas Harrell, but a no decision. 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. A late swing there by Kendrick puts the count at 1-1. Cisnero pitching for the first time since Wednesday night, and his numbers are really good. Ash.
Opponent's batting average .256. Just a couple of home runs allowed. Very balanced left-hand hitters, right-hand hitters.
Line shot into right field. Hit very sharply, and Kendrick has his 3rd straight hit.
Cisnero, over the last 10 appearances, he's really gotten better and better, allowing just 2 runs in almost 20 innings of work, striking out 23. And that's what I think he can do in the long haul. Is I believe he's a guy that could, maybe should, strike out more than a man an inning. He hasn't walked a lot. Opponent's batting average against .230. And yet it all starts out with a solid base hit here by Howie Kendrick.
Now it's Albert Pujols batting. He's 1 for 3. Kendrick was thrown out trying to steal in the 6th inning. Ball 1 for Cisnero. Cisnero, in his last outing against St. Louis Wednesday night, came in with a 4-3 lead in the 8th inning. He had a hitless inning, had a walk and 2 strikeouts, and he went through the heart of the Cardinals lineup. He got Yadier Molina on a ground out. Carlos Beltran walked, struck out Alan Craig, struck out Matt Holliday. He falls behind here, and it's 2-0 on Pujols.
Sometimes when Cisnero comes in the game, we just saw that fastball at 92. The velocity numbers don't appear to be there. He'll kind of pick it up as he rides through an inning. And I think if he's going to be an 8th inning guy, maybe at some time a 9th inning guy, got to be able to dial that thing up from the bullpen and bring pitch number 1 right up at the solid tune you want to bring throughout the inning.
That's up, and whoa, it's called a strike. Pujols jerks his head around. Mike Machlinski made a call that Albert did not like one bit.
Yeah, I didn't anticipate a strike call right there.
Nope.
A lot of times you'll see catchers stay down and catch one at the chin of his mask, and it'll be called high, which I think is outlandish too, but this ball probably high.
Kevin Jepson's warming up for the Angels. Pujols swings, and it's 2-2.
See that fastball dive as it comes into the inside corner, and it typically in doing so dives under the bat. Watch this ball turn as it just rolls under the bat.
Cisnero was not on the radar for many Astros fans when this season started. Now he's worked his way into very important roles late in games.
Haven't detected anything negative you could read, like Cisnero maybe getting uptight when he pitches in close games late. Seems like he's up for the task.
And he gets a strikeout. Oh, he fell behind Pujols 2-0. He got a call, and then he went right after him.
So the good fastball gets him. And we were talking earlier about Mike Foltynewicz. And this guy has a legit over-the-top heater. He'll blow it right by bats, but he also has this over-the-top curveball. And that curveball combined with the kind of fastball he has makes me think of a guy you were just talking about. How about Nolan Ryan? Same type of stuff. Nolan came up with a changeup late in his career. Mike Foltynewicz is a name that I just cannot wait until he comes on the scene.
Josh Hamilton has a pair of walks, and he's lined to shortstop. That's strike 1. No, it's not. It's ball 1. Okay. Outside.
You buying in?
Not really.
Oftentimes you get this juggling game of what's a strike and what's not back there.
1-1. Pujols wasn't buying in. Strike one call on him either on that 2-0 pitch.
Yeah, I think he had a pretty good right to turn and smile as he did and maybe have a comment.
Hamilton looks at another
That's
close
a strike.
That's a good pitch.
That's a strike.
2-1.
You got an umpire that might be a bit rattled right now.
It's in the air, and Matt Dominguez comes over to see if he has a play on it. He does not. 2-2. They do, though.
Hope nobody in that Angels dugout said, "I got it."
Cisnero, when he got the win at Chicago a week ago yesterday, went a couple of innings, didn't give up a run. He was in bases loaded trouble, though, and he got Darwin Barney to get out of that. The Astros put him back in the windup, taking him out of the stretch. Fly ball deep left center field. This ball is hit very well, and that one is banging off the bullpen wall. Here around third comes Kendrick. Kendrick to the plate. Here's the relay from Elmore, way offline, and the Angels take a 2-1 lead. The ball gets away, and now here's Hamilton coming home to score. And it's 3-1 as Hamilton circles the bases. The Astros had a shot at Kendrick at home. Elmore's throw from the outfield was wide, and it got by, and he will draw the throwing error. And the Angels wind up with a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, I think one of the questions we might have had of Jake Elmore is, does he have enough arm to play shortstop? Well, he's the guy in this cutoff scenario and needs to relay to the plate, and he's got a golden shot right there. Well, if he makes a good throw, and he had plenty on the throw, it's location that was not working at all, and Josh Hamilton stumbled for about 85 of the 90 feet. As he went around third, I might have glanced at the feed in the bag a little too late. Did he touch third base?
We have to take another look. Trumbo was strike one. Well, the error on the shortstop, Elmore. This is third in 2 games. Now a swing there by Trumbo takes the count to 0-2.
See, as Hamilton, yeah, he steps on the bag. Well, that's Kendrick. Of course, we're looking for Josh Hamilton.
That's off the plate, and it's 1-2 on Trumbo.
Where in the world is Josh Hamilton? Now we found him. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Well, assuming he stepped on it back there, I guess he did.
Trumbo is down on strikes. 2 outs.
Mark Trumbo, aside from that home run opposite field in the 4th, looks like a guy who's in a deep struggle.
Hamilton circled the bases. With that error thrown in. And we'll check the ruling, assuming he had an RBI double and then took third on the throw and scored on the error. That's the way it is.
Yeah, I think that's the way you would rule it. Now, I think Elmore, if he makes a throw on line at all, gets his man.
Yeah. Fouled by Callaspo. There's strike one. He's 0 for 3.
So I guess for myself, the question that I had is, does Elmore have enough arm to play shortstop? I might say yes, but does he have accuracy to go with it? Right now, it doesn't look good.
Upstairs for a 1-ball, 1-strike count.
Certainly doesn't have that stun gun type arm.
And it speaks to that category, not necessarily of errors alone, but plays not made. There's a shot foul.
So we talk about the arm of Jake Elmore. There's your Josh Hamilton double for the Hamilton lovers. And now, at this point, great shot. It's a quick release demand, but he had enough carry, that's for certain. Way offline.
Still a 1-2 count.
The players today kind of rating their performances in the first half. Tough thing to do, I think, but I wonder how Jake Elmore might comment to what just took place there for himself.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Lucas Harrell threw 110 pitches, 70 for strikes. The Astros have Barnes, Elmore, and Altuve due up in the bottom of the inning. Now it's 3-2. Forces narrow. Ball 4. Fastball reaches.
All of a sudden, Mike Muchlinski doesn't much like the knee-high fastball. Might have been a dab under the knees. Does it catch a portion of the bottom of the knees?
Brad Hopp is 0 for 3. Hopp has an uppercut swing. Pitchers can get him out upstairs. There's strike 1 to Hopp. He's big trouble on that pitch down, though.
He enjoyed his days at Coors Field.
He did some lifting there, didn't he?
Some heavy lifting for a while. Bottom of the knees again.
1-1. Pitcher likes to get those calls. If he doesn't get that call, he has to elevate a little bit. That's in for a strike, and it's 1-2.
Yeah, Hopp for a 4-year span as a member of the Rockies had a low mark of 22 home runs over those 4 consecutive seasons, topping out at 29.
Two. They're tied in Boston. Blue Jays batting in the top of the 9th inning, 4-4. Jose Bautista cranked his 19th.
Look out if he gets it hot.
Shades of Adam Lind, huh?
He's a guy that quietly has flown under the radar, doing very well this year.
Swing by Hopp, and he strikes out. 2-run scoring on 2 hits with 1 error and 1 left. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. It's now 3-1 Angels with Barnes, Elmore, and Altuve to follow. Astros Trivia is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. Nolan Ryan threw 7 no-hitters to 7 different catchers. Let's see who they might have been, and in fact were. We know Alan Ashby caught his no-hitter with the Astros. Jeff Torborg, Art Kushner, Tom Egan, Ellie Rodriguez, Ash, John Russell, and Mike Stanton. Torborg also caught a couple of others. So did Ash, right?
It just shows that if you latch on tightly enough to the right coattail, you can get your name mentioned at times. That was kind of good.
Well, those years he had with the Angels, over 300 innings, 383 strikeouts in 1 year.
Look, his strikeout totals and his 7 no-hitters, I'll just start with the strikeout totals, will never be approached. Not the way that innings are now picked up by starting pitchers. And the no-hitters, I just don't see how anybody, when you look at some of the guys that have had great stuff, what they've been able to do, not even close. 7 no-hitters, unbelievable.
Now Kevin Jepson's in the game facing Brandon Barnes, bottom of the 8th. Barnes fouls it. There is strike 1. C.J. Wilson in 7 innings allowed the Astros 3 hits, 1 run. Now Jepson with 7 walks in 18 2/3 innings has 19 strikeouts. Wilson walked 3 and he fanned 10. Got a double play ball. 3 hits he allowed were singles through 100 pitches. And Jepson gets out in front, 0-2 on Barnes. It's the 3rd game with 10 strikeouts or more this year for Wilson. Angels bullpen has a 3.96 ERA with a 12-11 record, 22 saves and 29 opportunities. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Ernesto Frieri is the closer. Jepson worked a scoreless inning Friday night. Got his first win of the year Thursday against Detroit with a scoreless inning. He was on the DL with a right shoulder strain, missing 38 games. Foul back, and it's still 1-2 to Barnes. Torborg caught one of those. He caught Koufax's perfect game, didn't he?
I believe so. Yeah. I saw the Koufax perfect game, and that's why the catching of Nolan Ryan's 5th no-hitter was so big to me. I saw 2 of Sandy's 4 no-hitters, one being the perfect game, and was a huge fan. Frankly, he was an idol of mine. And then to be able to be the kid behind the plate when Nolan Ryan decided to toss number 5 was just unbelievable.
Were you getting kind of nervous there in the final inning?
Kind of nervous.
Yeah.
You know, each no-hitter that I was a part of and others that came close, and I was with Nolan 1 out into the 9th inning after having caught that one, I was always, it felt like the glorious weight of the world was on my shoulders. It was the very best. It was the epitome of everything I could have dreamed about being involved in professional sports with. And to bring those no-hitters home just felt like a dream come true for me. So yeah, it was very nerve-wracking, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't do anything that cost a guy a no-hitter. And Nolan, after catching 3 and caught Ken Forsch, Nolan Ryan, and Mike Scott on the clinching day, that was so improbable, but 1986. After that, had Nolan 1 out in the 9th inning. Mike Schmidt got a little base hit against him, and then 2 outs in the 9th inning. Mike Scott gave up a base hit to Ken Obergfell as a pinch hitter, and yeah, it was that notion of catching number 4 just enormous for me. But again, it was truly a matter of latching onto coattails and just holding on as tight as could be.
September 9th, 1965 was the Koufax perfect game.
Couldn't have told you what month that was.
Converge. Trumbo comes in. He gets out of the way. Kendrick with the catch.
But if you look at the limited length of the Koufax career, the fact that he had 4 no-hitters is remarkable.
But 65, wasn't that the year the Dodgers played the Twins in the World Series?
I believe so.
And Koufax was scheduled to start one of the games that fell on a Jewish holiday, so he opted not to pitch. Out of respect for that holiday.
I'm trying to recall, did Koufax not win 2 of those games in that series?
Don't remember. He won the one after the Jewish holiday. Elmore with the infield hit in the 6th is 1 for 2 with a walk. And there's ball 1.
Well, for me, maybe greater than having seen those no-hitters of Koufax in person was the fact that I got to meet him on multiple occasions, and I found him to be the most outstanding, just greatest guy you want to run into, and have had been one of your idols as a kid.
Ball 1 strike. He was a commentator on NBC TV games for many years. When Terry Collins took over as the Astros manager, he invited Sandy Koufax to come to spring training, meet some of the Astros pitchers. Terry had been in the Dodger organization and knew Sandy. Strike makes it 1-2 to Elmore.
Well, that low strike is come and go depending on who's at the plate.
It's rather amoebic.
Didn't anticipate that I would hear that word today. Generally try to run through that list of possibilities. Didn't find that one on the list.
No. Bouncer, and Jepson can't field it. It goes out to shortstop. No play there. Elmore has his 2nd infield hit of the day. He's going with the theory, make the pitcher field it. Good things will happen.
Yeah, that's not a bad ploy either. Well, for Jake, as it turns out, with a couple of infield singles and a walk, he's had a nice day offensively. Defensively, getting exposed a bit at short.
It's hit number 4 for the Astros.
We just don't find pitchers that typically focus on being great defensive players. That's why they stand out so much when you do run into the guy. Mike Hampton, Greg Maddux.
Yeah. Altuve looks at strike 1. Jim Cott was phenomenal.
Yep. For me, the best my eye ever saw was Mike Hampton. He would land, when that front foot would land, he would pop into 2 feet at that point, become an infielder.
Right.
And he wasn't surprised by balls hit sharply back at him. He would leap at balls going by him.
Well, he was set. His glove was up.
Yep.
His weight was evenly distributed on both feet. He was ready to field.
He was a drawn-in infielder.
Yeah. And, you know, he worked at it, as you said. A lot of pitchers fail to do that.
But he was just outstanding. Seen other guys who reacted well, and for me, Greg Maddux was one of those guys, and Jim Cott was almost kind of a guy that would try to put himself in position, I guess. But yeah, they were really good and they stood out.
Jim Cott won something like 16 Gold Gloves. Altuve looks at it.
Primarily in those days, and more so than now, if you won it once or twice, you tended to perpetuate if you didn't just flat fall on your face.
True. But Jim Cott used to go out on the artificial turf during batting practice, out around where the second baseman plays, and get an infield coach or one of the coaches to hit fungos at him hard. Real shots, so he would not have as much reaction time, and that is what happens with a pitcher. Very little reaction time. Chopped over the mound. It goes out to Kendrick. Kendrick with the tag. Gets the out there for out number 2. And the sliding Elmore, and Altuve reaches.
I remember watching Ozzie Smith before batting practice would start all the time, and I don't know that it was every day, but I notice it on occasions as this chopper goes over the hill and they get the tag play. Ozzie Smith would get on his knees at a drawn-in shortstop up on the grass and have a coach hit some shots at him side to side, and he would just pick it one-handed. So he had that glove hand kind of loosened, ready, and boy, kind of know how that story ended.
That's a good hand skill. By the way, the guy who caught the most no-hitters, 4.
Oh, and Jason Varitek.
Jason Varitek.
Yeah, that was in recent years as he went on by the grouping of guys that had 3.
Carter is 0 for 3. About time for a 2-run homer here. There's ball 1.
You know what, Jason Varitek, from what I've seen of him, the kind of guy that should be at the top of that list. Just a dynamic kind of a leader, just took charge, and yeah, I think he probably earned it.
He caught no-hitters by John Lester, Clay Buchholz, Derek Lowe, and Hideo Nomo. That was one of the worst trades ever made by the Seattle Mariners, trading him to Boston. 2 balls, no strikes.
Yeah. Yeah, even toward the end of the career for Varitek, when he wasn't swinging the bat as well anymore, he was still valuable as a leader behind the plate.
Heathcliff Slocum was what they got in return for Varitek. That's outside, and it's 3-0 now. 3-0 green light for Carter with 2 outs.
Don't know. I would say yes.
Yep.
I would say in a chance to get one big swing and get back even in the game. A big yes.
Makes sense. Ball 4, nowhere close, and Carter takes the walk. His 36th of the year, bringing up Carlos Corcoran.
You know what the problem can be a lot of times there is the sign green light doesn't give you all the implications. A manager might be thinking exactly what we were talking about there, but as a hitter you see green light and you think, well, I'm not so sure. You have to know your role, where you fit in the lineup.
Yes, sir. 3 strikeouts for Carlos Corcoran today. Kevin Jepson has made 3 appearances, all of them not allowing an earned run against the Astros this year. Foul for strike 1 on a low pitch. Jepson was a 2nd-round pick at 0-2 by the Angels. He's pitched in more than 200 games for them in his career. He's from Anaheim. Red Sox have won it in the bottom of the 9th over the Blue Jays, 5-4. An error. Foul back, and it's 0-2. Nationals pummeled the Mets 13-2 at Citi Field in New York. They roughed up Zach Wheeler, the talented Mets rookie. He took the loss. Gio Gonzalez, the winner, goes to 5-3. Matt Harvey and Zach Wheeler, 2 promising young arms in that Mets rotation right now, both rookies. Carlos takes it. It's 1-2. J.D. Martinez on deck. The Rays beat the Tigers 3-1 in St. Petersburg. Jeremy Hellickson going to 7-3 with the victory, beating Rick Porcello. He's 4-6. Fernando Rodney got his 17th save. He was the subject of Miguel Cabrera's shouts last night after Rodney decked him. And Rodney will be here tomorrow night. Corcoran strikes out, and that ends the Astros 8th inning with no runs, 1 hit, 2 men left. We move to the 9th, 3-1 Angels. to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. And by Grown Ups 2 in theaters July 12th. Was that a young Alan Ashby? No, it's a different actor. Jose Veras comes in. It's 3-1 Angels. And he will be in for the ninth inning with Conger, Ibar, and Shuck due up. He's 0-4 with a 3.71 ERA, 16 saves and 19 drives.
Other than talent and money, David Spade's got nothing on me, Browning. Opposition batting averages against Veras just at 200, and the righties 172. They are not having a picnic.
We've already had one of those on the field after the game.
Did you bring your blanket for that one?
I didn't know. How about you?
You know what? I showed up late, and everybody was leaving right about the time I showed up.
Well, that might tell you something.
I was left with Tal's Hill all on my own.
Hank Conger leads it off. He's 1 for 3. Jose Cisnero in 1 inning allowed 2 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned run. Walking 1, fanning 3, throwing 29 pitches, 17 for strikes. Conger singled in the 7th inning off Lucas Harrell. He's 1 for 3. That's strike 1 for Jose Veras. The Astros have Martinez, Dominguez, and Cedeno due up in the last of the 9th inning. They have some left-handed pinch hitters should they choose to use them. It's a line shot foul. It's 0-2 to Conger. Veras trying to hold the line on the Angels here in the 9th inning and give the Astros a chance to go to work. Ernesto Frieri is the closer for the Halos. Frieri got the save Friday night in the 4-2 win. Did not pitch in yesterday's game. 1-2 for Jose Veras. Giants and Rockies underway. No score. Bottom of the 2nd in Colorado. Madison Bumgarner pitching. For San Francisco, the Giants are 38-42. They've been involved in some trade rumors. We have a great shot of Alan Ashby and Sandy Koufax. Number 32.
Dodgers dugout. Dodger Stadium. A few years after both of us had played, but kind of cool stuff, huh?
Great shot.
I am still a kid when it comes to being around guys like that.
And his career really came to a premature end with that arm problem. What was it called? Raynaud's phenomenon?
I honestly, I'm going to have to give in to whatever you say on that one.
That's trouble.
That is troublesome, but in this case, I'm going to go there.
That's what I remember it being called, and there's never been another case of that I've heard of.
I guess when you're that great, you can have your own problems with your elbow.
Wow. There's some kind of a circulatory issue in his elbow. A shot off the mitt of Wallace into foul territory, and that's going to be a hit for Conger. Wallace was moving to his left, got his mitt on it, but couldn't hold it, and Conger's now 2 for 4 in this game. Wallace was in fair territory when he touched the baseball.
I don't know. I need to see this one again to see if Brett Wallace should have caught this ball. Line shot, no doubt about that, and not an easy play. You know, again, not an easy play. Major League first baseman. Should he catch that? Maybe. I probably would lean to yes.
Official score leaned to no, and it's no, he did lean to yes, so he's going to give him an error.
Wow, that's a tough E, I have to say that.
Ibar's around to bunt. There's ball 1. Wait a minute, you just said you should have caught it.
Well, I did, didn't I? Okay, well, if you're going to play it that tough with me,
all right.
Yeah, I'm playing that that game of okay, so you get this defense shored up, we're going to make all the plays, and
all right.
But if I'm a scorer, I've got to take into consideration the line drive and all the effort.
I thought it was a hit.
Yeah, I'd go there. but being critical on the defensive side.
Okay.
Yeah, what was your thought watching the play?
Well, watching him stretch out like that, and he had to take about 2 or 3 quick steps. The ball seemed to be hit pretty hard. And being a congenial sort, I thought, you know, Hank Conger.
This isn't a Christmas card.
Oh, you can't consider personalities here? Okay. Runner goes. And there's a ball hit to center field and shallow. Barnes in for a sliding play. He got it. Throw back to first on Conger. And he's safe. Good play by Barnes in center. He robbed Ibar and went for the double play, and the fans like that of it.
If only Brandon Barnes could come up with more double plays on these great catches he makes. Does that line up with what I said on the Wallace ball?
Well, where's that amoeba we were talking about?
Yeah, well, another outstanding play. Brandon Barnes just keeps making them. This play coming directly in is a tough one. No angle to set yourself up on.
Yeah.
He's starting to figure out ways to get his uniform dirty.
Look at Ibar bouncing around in the play there. That was interesting. JB shocked. He's 0 for 4. There's strike one. Of course, Ibar had been put out, but he was coming up the first base line. And it looked like he kind of brushed together with Brad Wallace, who's backing up to get that hop at first base. So then let's just take that a step further and have some fun with it. Okay, they get entangled. The ball gets loose. The batter's been put out. He's now interfering with the first baseman. That gets interesting, right?
My head's spinning. I don't even know how to respond.
No balls, 2 strikes. You know, we ought to revive the old rules quiz one of these nights. We should have done that Friday night. We had, what, a 4-hour game Friday night?
Yeah, pretty close to it. It felt more like 5, but.
Seemed like we had checked out of the hotel in about the 6th inning of that game.
Excellent starting pitching, and then it just went south.
It really did. Fouled away. And all these fans are patiently awaiting the fine fireworks show after the game.
Waiting to see some moonwalking in the fireworks. Did that ever happen?
Well, we would have had to have stayed for that to answer that question, so I'm not sure. But here's guessing it did, yeah. We saw Orbit out practicing, though, before the game.
Without his Orbit, well, I can't go any further with that.
All right. Okay. We'll strike that from the record. Orbit is considered to be a space creature, right?
Orbit is as Orbit does.
You're giving me one of those Jerry DiPoto answers now. 1 and 2.
General manager for the Angels.
Are we?
Does he go that direction?
Well, they asked him the other day, are we buyers or sellers? He said, we're neither buyers nor sellers. We're the Angels.
We are the Angels of, and then he stopped at that point.
Okay.
Had no further comment.
Yeah, because we didn't know if it was Reseda or what suburb it was on that day. Tap foul. And it's still 1 and 2.
Well, I'm rooting for the folks in either Anaheim or the broader Orange County. I could even go largely broader of California, but I can't go for Los Angeles.
So you grew up in San Pedro, California.
Yes.
And let's just say that you were there right now, and you're 12 years old, and you're a fan of kind of just generally Major League Baseball. You go to some Dodger games, you go to some Angel games. Does that make a difference that the Angels are now calling themselves the Los Angeles Angels instead of the Anaheim Angels?
No, it doesn't please me at all. I've got to make an overnighter to go down to Orange County to go watch the ball game, and yet the Orange County folks can't lay claim to the team as I can up in the LA County area.
Okay.
So that just nonsense. Have you got it figured out how it helps the Angels?
Never. No, I don't think renaming the team does it. If you're the Anaheim Angels and you're winning division titles, you're going to draw from Los Angeles.
Of course, you're going to have your fans. But you know what I would fear more would be the Dodgers drawing some of the angry fans from Orange County who have been kind of shut out a little bit.
Well, it seems to be kind of a battleground between these two teams. You're right. It's ripped, but it's foul. And with both teams spending money like crazy last winter, it really seemed as if they were battling.
Yep.
It seems like they're trying to lay claim to certain percentages of that market.
And both teams, in good part, failing in those endeavors to buy players to buy championships.
Well, after all the money they've spent, and we're only at the halfway point, the Angels are 38-43, and the Dodgers are 37-43. Bouncer to Wallace, but foul, and it's still 2-2. So if they stay, roughly at this winning percentage, they both finish the year under 500. They have players under multi-year deals that extend way beyond this year. There you have it. The Angels are getting a little bit more into the mix. They're 9 games out now, but they've gained some ground. But what they've really done is to enrich a lot of players.
Well, they have done that. The Players Association is highly pleased with those clubs. Yeah.
Very, very pleased.
Yeah, and see what the San Jose Athletics of Oakland have done. They've been pretty good.
How is that lawsuit going? What are you hearing on that?
I haven't heard anything. You and I heard something about 2 weeks ago that the city of San Jose was suing Major League Baseball, I believe.
Yeah.
For locking them out of the chances to, well, they were laying claim to certain millions of dollars lost revenues for not having the A's a part of their community.
If they sue the Giants. Line shot caught by Wallace, and a snow cone double play takes care of Conger at first base. That ball was scorched by Shuck, but it's all Shuck on that one, and we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. 3-1 Angels.
Of the day, it's from Astros skipper. I want to be able to leave this season and look around the diamond and have players establish themselves as Major League Baseball players. Manager Bo Porter has been asked a lot recently about the state of the team, where he thinks they are right now at this halfway point, where he thinks they should be, and he keeps reiterating to the media and everyone asking that this is a progress. He's not spending a lot of energy on the numbers, on the records. He just wants his team to keep developing. And he's really proud of the fact that they're sticking together while doing so. Guys.
Thank you, Julia. We go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Bo Porter would love to see a huge come from behind win here. The Angels in position with a 3-1 lead. They have Ernesto Frieri, their closer, in the game. The Astros have Martinez, Dominguez, and Cedeno. lined up here for the bottom of the ninth. We could see a pinch hitter. Frieri 0-1 with a 3.28 ERA is 20 for 22 in saves.
And hitters, as with a lot of the guys in back ends of bullpens, not having a good time at all. 188 the overall. Left-hand hitters, we talked about this the other day, 109 the batting average against. That says there's a splitter, there's a changeup, there is something out of the norm that is dominating those lefties.
So we may not see a pinch hitter after all. There's ball one to Martinez.
It would make more sense statistically to keep the righties coming.
Sure would. JD with 2 strikeouts and a walk today. Only 4 hits for the Astros. That's low for a ball. That makes it 2-0. Jepson in 1 inning allowed 1 hit, no runs. Had 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Getting a hold. C.J. Wilson's 8th win of the year on the line. In tight, and it's 3-0 for Frieri.
With that instant 3-0 count, it leads you to wonder, how is he in terms of walks? He's walked a low 20 and 35 and 2/3 innings. So maybe a guy you want to be a bit patient with.
That's a strike. Ooh, and it's 3-1. Well, we've been watching 8.5 innings of baseball, Ash.
That was not a woo of amazement, I guess, huh?
Are you sure where the strike zone is today after these 8.5 innings?
It has been a bit of a floater.
That's a strike. Whoa, the bat goes flying over the Angel dugout and into the seats, and it's 3-2. Maybe we'll go back for another weapon.
Stay loose, folks. Man.
That was a whirly bird. Frieri came in with a 4-1 lead in the 9th inning. Gave up a run Friday night.
Always nice when smiles are the end result.
Yeah.
But I think there's a moment of terror that precedes the smiles. Send me up there, Coach.
And Raging Cajun sure tried to make a play. Broken bat looper out to shortstop. And it's now picked up by Ibar. Martinez reaches. He broke that bat after losing the previous one, but it gets him an infield hit. Ibar tried to barehand it. That's a single for Martinez.
And JD maybe catches a huge break in multiple ways here as he shatters the bat. Would you like to see your shortstop come in and barehand on this play, or come in and try to make the play with the glove?
Let's go glove on this.
Yeah, he probably got a little bit of a kick to his right, but he also set himself up coming with the ball on his right hand side.
Jason Castro out in the on deck circle. The batter's Dominguez. Slider ball 1. Dominguez is 0 for 3. So the Astros are thinking about using that left-handed bat. Ronnie Cedeno is due up next. Frieri gave up a run in his 1 inning on Friday night, but got the save in a 4-2 win. And now falls behind Dominguez 2-0. He had a walk and gave up a double to J.D. Martinez in that game. He walked the leadoff man in the 9th inning, Carlos Pena, who came around to score. Matt Dominguez delivered a sac fly. Now he'll be visited by his pitching coach.
1 year ago, with the Angels, Frieri put up some phenomenal numbers. 80 strikeouts in 54 1/3 innings. You just don't do that to major league hitters. He had a whip under the 1 mark. So at his best, he is frightening. 26 hits allowed last year in, again, those 54 1/3 innings. Stay tuned for Postgame Live, presented by MD Anderson, making cancer history.
Mike Butcher with a visit. Counts 2-0 on Dominguez, who's 0 for 3. Frieri against the Astros in 7 career games is 1-0 with a 2.08 ERA with 3 saves. This year he's given up 1 run in 5 innings pitched over 4 appearances. Strike to Dominguez. It's 2-1 to Matt. Angels ready to head back home, and they are trying to leave home with a 6-7 record in the season series against the Astros. That's it for a strike. That makes it 2-2.
Yeah, if the Angels hang on and win this game and sweep this series, they have turned this season series around considerably. It was dominated by the Astros through 10.
Sure was. Put in the air and back out of play by Dominguez. Frieri is from Colombia. He's going to be 28 years old in less than a month, 3 weeks. Came up to San Diego. The Angels got him in a trade mid-season last year for Don Roach and Alexi Amarista. Very good return for the Angels.
I asked, what were the Padres thinking about when they traded this arm? He had struck out 18 in 11 innings for San Diego.
Did you get an answer?
You know, I'm going to have to write to somebody and find out. But that's a tough one to kind of quiz yourself with. What leads one to deal a guy with that kind of arm? Last year, his fastball wasn't this 94, 95 that we're looking at today. It was more in that 97, 99 kind of a range.
3-2 count. Dominguez fouls back with a good cut. You won't send that registered U.S. mail, will you, when you write that letter?
Care of Bill Brown.
I couldn't begin to give you an answer to that question.
I think when you see a guy that strikes out well over a man an inning, you've got to be hard pressed to consider him being a part of a deal that you make.
Absolutely. All back again. Still 3-2 with Jason Castro on deck. 66 innings last year for San Diego and the Angels. 98 strikeouts.
Those are insane numbers. Those are Brad Lidge at his heyday numbers.
Did not like his slider a whole lot last year, according to one story, and he's been working on a cut fastball and changeup this year.
You know what? I wouldn't have changed a thing that he did last year.
Pretty hard to be critical of his numbers, allowing 35 hits in 66 innings. Dominguez puts it in the air, and the first baseman Trumbo comes in toward the plate. That's one out.
Yeah, you start trying to change things when you are that successful, and that kind of falls in the Tiger Woods changing his golf swing category. Just really doesn't make sense.
Jason Castro's a pinch hitter now for Ronnie Cedeno. Castro with a .269 average, has 11 homers, 27 runs batted in. Jason's had 260 at bats. He leads the club in total bases with 125. Has 22 doubles to lead the club. 481 slugging percentage, and he's 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter. He's a strong candidate for the All-Star team in the American League, rather. Jason is 1 for 7, a home run in this series. That's ball one. Castro delivered a home run off Jerome Williams in the 4th inning Friday night in the Astros 4-2 loss. Castro takes it. It's a strike, and that evens the count at 1-1. Jason with his 11th home run Friday night. That's the most home runs by any catcher in Astros history through June 29th in the season. And he could stop right now, and it would be the most by any Astros catcher since Mitch Molesky hit 14 in 2000. The club record 17 home runs by John Bateman way back in '66.
And I think Jason can get better. I think he is just learning how good he can be as a major league hitter.
Left-handed hitters, though, have had that tremendous challenge you talked about against Frieri. Those are Bugs Bunny numbers he has against southpaw hitters. It's 2-2.
Anvil flying through the sky in your direction.
Exactly. It's hard to believe. Left-handed hitters are at 109 against him. Believe it or not, there are two guys with lower batting averages against them by left-handed hitters.
Right-handers?
No, left-handed.
Okay, well, right-hand pitcher.
It doesn't say.
Yeah.
We're guessing lefties, right?
Yeah, see, when you're talking right-hand pitcher that creates that kind of a number on left-hand hitters, there's something unique, something special that goes on.
He gets it by Castro and strikes him out. That's out number 2. Well, that's part of it.
Nothing fancy right there, just pure gas thrown on by.
Yeah, 94. Now Brett Wallace. Wallace is 0 for 3. Presumably he's cutting it in on their hands to match that high octane heater.
Well, if as a hitter you have a dial that you can notch up, go ahead and turn that bad boy up right about now.
Trumbo is playing behind the base runner, J.D. Martinez. He'll take off. Ball hit to center field. Way back Hamilton. Hamilton with the catch. And the Angels sweep the Astros in this 3-game series. They do it with solid pitching. They won the opener 4-2 Friday night. Took the Saturday game 7-2. They grabbed this one 3-1 with Frieri getting his 21st save. Wilson winning for the 8th time this year. Final score: Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim 3, Houston Astros 1.